All right. Hey folks, my bad. Look, I was trying to get this camera to work right. It was acting crazy, right? And I don't like how it looks, but we'll make this work for now. All right. Anyway, hey folks, happy what's today? Tuesday? Happy Tuesday, all that great stuff. I feel like I haven't done a live since November. Well, we'll see what we've been up to, but all is well with me. Let me do a few quick announcements and then actually let me get my hellos in real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little all over the place. Let's see. Somebody said, what up, Nicole? Somebody said, if you do another book club, can it be Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler? Once we finish this current book, I'll put the announcement out, I want to say in March. And like we normally do, I'll just kind of put 12 options out there for you guys to vote on. And normally how I do it is I may pick 3 or 4 books that I'm interested in, and then the rest are what you guys have all kind of recommended or suggested, and then you guys all vote on them that way. So that's how I normally select the books for the book club. All right, let's see. I don't like how low I am today. I'm going to switch out my chairs. I'm sorry. I hate when I'm not like all ready, but I don't like how low I'm sitting. So we're going to swap this one out. Bring in the other one. Okay, this should be a little better. All right, I like that. I don't like that either. Whatever. We're about to go back to the low chair. Let's see here. What else we got? Yeah, I don't like how this looks either. Let's see. Hopefully you guys have had a great holiday season. Hello, Calvin. Happy New Year. Happy you're going live. Need to hear from you. Blessings to you and everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Calvin. Let me sit near front and center when you drag Elon, because I am sick of that person. What up, Santino? Calvin, Happy New Year. As always, thanks for these lives and your intellectual perspective on the foolery of the world. I know, man. I know. Also, thank you for the Mariah So It Happened. I'm glad I finally got it out. Like that video. Man. Whoa, that video was a journey to get finished. So somebody said 3 minutes late. My God, look, I told y'all the camera was not acting right, man. It's it's been a weekend. It's only Tuesday. Let's see what we got here. Sarah, I went to Calvin, I went to Janet's residency for New Year's Eve. Okay, 2 days in a row, and I was able to give my painting to her team. Best day ever. That's cool. Like I remember I was at TRO once when she premiered Made for Now, and there was this girl that had painted like a velvet rope painting for her that she gave to us. That was kind of cool too. So yeah, you can always give an artist some fan art. They normally appreciate it, so that's pretty cool. After all this, I think I'm gonna still switch my seat back and just sit a little lower. Let's see. What up? Okay, Turks and Caicos. What up, Giddy Up? All right, we're gonna keep it moving. All right, I got a few announcements, and then we're gonna just jump into this. So anyway, speaking of the book club, next book club session, January 27th, right? So we're kind of doing a makeup session and a new session because the last session we had I planned it terribly. It was a little too close to Thanksgiving, so we kind of had some weird turnouts. So I was like, let's just push it back. So that'll be the 27th. We're still reading the Rick James book, and we'll be doing pages 53 through 141. So really, it's just 4 new chapters plus what we were already supposed to do, right? So students, make sure you do your reading. Also, there's a new episode of the podcast that comes out on the 28th. I know y'all have been asking, but I had to get the Mariah episode done, right? So there's a new Comedically Hard-Headed episode that comes out on the 28th. I know I've left you guys on a cliffhanger for those who listen to that podcast. But yeah, it's available on all the streaming services and sites. Speaking of podcasts, by the way, too, for those who are really into music, there's this really great podcast on Audible called The Wonder of Stevie that kind of dives into a lot of Stevie's 70s albums. So that was a really great listen for those who are really into like Stevie Wonder or early soul music and everything like that. Definitely check that out. As far as the holiday, mine was cool, kind of laid back. Let me see. I have 4 godchildren, so getting all of them their presents. One of my godchildren, his birthday is on Christmas, so every year we do something on Christmas Eve for him. So that was really cool to see everybody. I also got a chance to go visit my actual kids, like at the center this week. And because if you listen to the podcast, out of this current season, Ava had her last day last week. So it's kind of cool because all of our old kids that would have been like 5 and 6 back in 2011 came. So it's kind of cool to see, your kids that are now grown, right? And they're all taller than me, every last one of them. I was like, what did we feed y'all? Like, I'm just looking up like, okay. So it was really cool to see all of them and hang out. It kind of just felt like old times. So it was really good for that. And like we said, I spent most of the break though trying to finish the Mariah video. Like, I don't think people understand. The Mariah video was probably the hardest So What Happened I ever did. The main reason was I like Mariah, but I don't consider myself a lamb. Like, I enjoy her music, but I never thought I was like a big super fan. So there was a lot about her I did not know. And I just wanted to make sure I did right by Mariah so her fans would not come and try to, I don't want to use that word, let's just say stump me out, right? And then the other thing that had happened too, like when I initially started it, because this was supposed to come out in March, man. But then, you know, I was stuck trying to finish the movie and then finish my albums. And then because I think I reshot that episode like 4 or 5 times. Then I got sick in the summer. I don't know if you guys can notice, but there's some shots where my face like fills in and then goes back to like cheekbone chisel. Because it was like some of that was filmed before I got sick. Some of that was filmed after I was like recovering. So, and even with that, as an update, by the way, because like if you didn't know, I got like really sick in the summer for some reason, something. I lost like almost 20 pounds. I'm up 8 pounds. It doesn't look like it, but I will take it. I got about 12 more to go to get back to where I was pre-July. So like just getting that Mariah video took a lot of time. It's a lot of time of like filming, cutting, editing, getting all the material that you want to utilize. And then again, that's a 3-hour video. It's really long. And mind you, that's after I chopped it down. The original cut was almost 4 hours. And I was like, now I don't even have the patience to sit through that. So I was like, we got to cut it down. So I try to get it under 3 hours. So there's a lot of, not a lot of details, but a lot of stuff I cut out of it. And I figured what I can do is maybe some of the information that was shared can go on some of the other music related videos that I'll do later down the line. But yeah, that video was a lot to do and work on. So I'm glad that those who've seen it appreciated it and liked it. And yeah, all right, let me read some comments and then we're gonna just keep it moving here. But yeah, let's see what we got here. The Negress was like, I seen the screen. We just kept snapping pics and your face was like, huh? Yeah, I was trying to get the thumbnail right while I was doing the camera. Normally, before I do the live, I have a separate YouTube account that I don't use. Then I do all the test runs for the live on that before I come to this. I didn't get a chance to test run anything. I just had to come on and be ready. So cameras, nothing was where it needed to be. Microphone was in the wrong place. So anyway. Calvin, how did I watch Luther? I actually went to, they had a screening in October, November here in DC. So I went to a screening and I saw one of the screenings. So I saw it before it aired on CNN. I think it airs again this Saturday on CNN for those who missed it, I think. Somebody said Janet's making a tribute to Mace and the Mace band this summer with Earth, Wind & Fire. What? Oh, I didn't even know about that, but that sounds cool. Okay, we got to keep it moving, y'all. I'm sorry. I know we don't normally spend this much time in the whatchamacallit, beginning. Ayana said, oh, Ava, was Pee-wee there to celebrate? Pee-wee was not there. This is from the podcast, but his younger brother, I don't know if I've introduced the younger brother on the series yet. The younger brother was there, which was cool. And mind you, Pee-wee is not Pee-wee anymore. Pee-wee's taller than me too. Because Pee-wee right now should be in 10th grade. And so Pee-wee's like 5'11", probably about 165-ish. Like none of these kids are little anymore. Clarissa was there from the podcast. She's currently a sophomore in college. I'm trying to think of other names in the podcast that you guys would know. Chase was there. Chase is like 6'5", 6'6", really, really tall. And he's in his sophomore year of college as well. He's doing really well, by the way, too. Really proud of him. Let's see. Okay, let's move on, y'all. I'm sorry. All right. I want to talk about Squid Game really quick. I'm not going to spoil it, so no worries. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I did watch it on Netflix when I finally had a minute after I finished the Mariah doc. The thing that's interesting with me, and the only reason I'm referencing this movie is because I feel like it kind of reflects the world right now. The odd enough thing about this current season of Squid Game that I saw was like, it mirrors the United States so much with regard to how people move and how people operate and just iron things out in life. Like I kept watching and there were these moments where I'm like, are y'all serious? And you'd have to see what I'm talking about. Like the idea of the choices that were made by a lot of the people in there. And I get it. Dire circumstances sometimes will lead up to dire actions. And I think that's reflective of where the country is right now. Not even just the country, but the world, with how people move and how, we're coming into a space where there's a lack of consideration for others. There's a lack of empathy, right? Everybody, it's all about individuality, me, myself, and I, and what can I get and how can I get it? Even if it means I got to step on everybody's toes and break a few necks to get it, I'm going to get it. Like, that's kind of the space that we're in as far as like society, right? And so it was crazy just to see that when they had the option to make certain choices, how they moved, knowing that jumping into those spaces or jumping into those environments, making those specific choices was going to be detrimental to possibly themselves and to other people. But again, when you're just talking about the idea of prosperity and what people will do for it or what they think is prosperity, that's kind of the part that's kind of creepy. So even when they had, again, certain choices, I'm watching and I'm like, why is this even a question? And why are y'all even struggling to answer this question? Like, that was the part that got me like, how do you experience what you just experienced and say, we don't do it again? And then I started thinking, I was like, well, actually, that sounds just like the United States, right? Crazy watch, a little gory. This season was there's a lot more gore in this season than the first one. So I was like, oh, okay, all right, jeez. Interesting watch for those who are kind of into that kind of content. It's still interesting for me. I guess there's a third season coming out. I think the first season was better than this one, but this one is kind of setting up for whatever comes next. Took a little long to get there, in the same way that my lives take forever to get to the point when we first start. But yeah, Squid Game, interesting. That's pretty much the only thing I've been able to watch that's current. Just because I've been so busy doing other stuff. I'll definitely check out the Keke Palmer movie when it comes out, and we'll probably review it. So yeah, there was that. Let me read the chat here, and then we're going to jump right into some heavier subjects. I'm just trying to keep it light real quick while I warm this up into some other things. Let's see what you guys had to say here. Somebody said they course correction, enjoyed the Mariah video. Thank you. I appreciate it. Marissa A, my first comment in your live. I have missed you. Well, welcome. I appreciate you for sticking with me. Somebody said Mariah was incredible. I watched it 3 times already. God bless you, because by the time I edited that video and did the test run to watch to make sure there were no glitches, even though I still found 2 after the fact, I was like, whatever. I said, look, I don't even want to look at that video. The amount of just, I don't know, they take so long to make. I'm glad that y'all love them, but they take such a long time to finish. And sometimes I'm like, dang, I wish I could just do like 15, 20-minute videos on those kind of subjects, but y'all would cuss me out. Like, we want the whole thing. So it is what it is. Am I going to Love and Laughter with Tony this year? I don't know. I love Toni Braxton. She's one of my favorites. I didn't have any plans to go to Vegas for anything, but who knows? Maybe we'll see something in the spring if she's still out there. Okay. Oh, okay. Alan said I have some good news. I'll go into the Sierra Dance Icon Contest. Voting will start February 3rd. I'm excited. I hope I win. All right. Shout out to you, Alan. So y'all make sure, Alan, you send us the link when it's time. Alan is one of our long time subscribers. So let's support him when he goes on this new endeavor out here. Let's see. Side note, I need a gumbo recipe, by the way. Can somebody send me a good one? I just randomly was in bed at like 2 a.m. and I was like, I don't know how to make gumbo. Well, I think I do, but I don't. When my father passed, that's one of the recipes that went with him. I didn't get it before he went on to glory. But man, I just randomly was thinking about that. All right, let's keep it going. Okay, serious note. So the LA fires, right? So much to be said. The wildest thing about, I guess, as you get older is you constantly see more and more things happen throughout the world, right? You see more and more tragedies. You get exposed to a lot more things, hit closer to home, right? My father's entire paternal side, or at least half of them, are all in kind of like the LA region. So, the last week has been, calling up folks and making sure people are good. My grandfather lives right smack in the middle of LA, but I have other relatives that are out in Lancaster and in all the areas that, are heavily affected. So fortunately for my family, I haven't really heard any bad news or anything, but I think it's a surreal experience for everybody, right? And I really feel for those who have lost everything. I don't think people realize just how traumatic. It's one thing to like lose your house in a fire, but it's one thing to lose your entire neighborhood, right? And even in the idea of your house burning down, or a tornado comes and tears your house up, or a natural disaster comes and your house is gone. What do you even do in those first moments? Like once you've made it out alive and you're grateful that you've survived and your family survived and the dog made it and everybody's alive and healthy. But in those moments when it sinks in that everything is going, like, what do you even do in those first moments? Where do you go? A lot of times, people's car alone, even a car gets destroyed sometimes. It's like, where do you go? What do you do? What is the first thing that even comes to your mind? I can't imagine, and I pray I never end up in that kind of predicament. I can't imagine what that experience must be like, right? And how that feels to just know that everything you had is gone like that, right? And because everything happened so quickly too. Again, this was a random brush fire, and they happen all the time. And then a week later, you have tens of thousands of acres that are gone, right? Whole neighborhoods decimated, right? And it's just like one of the things I always think about. I'm a very sentimental person where everything matters to me. I hold on to everything. I still have all of the macaroni cards and birthday cards all the kids used to make me from 10, 11, 13 years ago. I still have homework assignments from elementary school. I still have, I got this random tissue box cover my grandma made with some yarn one day. I hold on to everything because everything is important to me, right? So the idea of like, and not even the idea, the reality of all of your family pictures are gone. All of your family home videos are gone, right? All of the items that mean something to you are gone. Recipe books, right? All the different family items, different things that, hold near and dear to you. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like, right? And again, the idea that it's an entire neighborhood, it's not even just your stuff, because it's one thing if your house burns down and it's still terrible, you still have lost all those things, but there's still a sense of familiarity because that neighborhood is still there. And if you have the option to rebuild and start over, you can kind of reset your footing. But when everything is gone, it's like, that is just crazy. And like even my uncles, my grandfather and my family on that side are based in kind of like the Crenshaw district, but there's a lot of kids in that district that get bused out to Altadena for school, and the school out there is now gone. And I'm like, for kids, what does that even mean? Your entire social circle will never be the same, right? Because you're not all going to be at the same school. Like all that kind of stuff I think about. And even again, it makes me think of just any natural disaster. It makes me think of, again, like when we covered Katrina Babies, the documentary, and just the experience of what happened to all of the families that were displaced in that region of the country, as far as like New Orleans, Metro, and everything around there. The experience of everything changing overnight, and you having to adjust and jump into your new norm unexpectedly. Like we all have new norms in our life, or a new normal, but they're normally a new normal that we often choose, right? College, if you choose to go, that's a new normal for you. You've had time to prepare. You've had time to say goodbye to your mom and dad and siblings and your favorite job at the ice cream parlor. And now you're loading stuff up in the van and driving to campus or flying to wherever. But you've mentally prepared for that new normal, and you still get the luxury to return back to what's familiar on holidays or spring break and stuff like that. The idea of marriage, you get the luxury to be a bachelor for however many years, or a bachelorette, and you choose to marry. You choose to spend your life with somebody else, and now that's going to be your new normal. And then maybe you guys have children, and that's your new normal, and so on and so forth, right? You start a new career. You may relocate for a job, right? Those are like those new normals, right? That you've jumped into voluntarily. And you also have the luxury to change and shift back and go if it doesn't work out. But when it's taken from you involuntarily, that's always a really hard transition. That's like when your parent dies, right? Or even your pet dies. Some people are really close to their pets. Your pet dies, and it messes some people up, right? And so it's the same aspect as far as like a natural disaster where your entire neighborhood is destroyed, your house is gone, and you don't even get the luxury of time to process anything, to map out what's next. You've been dropped off into your new normal like that, right? And now you have to figure things out. Those are some tough shoes to be in. And the reason I'm really harping on this is only because I've seen such a lack of empathy coming from people. I don't know what's in the water. I don't know if it's because y'all worship, not y'all, because if you're watching this channel, you probably don't see things with the way, as far as people I'm chewing out all the time. I don't know if it's the Elon disciples or the whatever, but we're in such a weird time where there's no empathy for anybody. People have just lost the idea of like humanity and having understanding for people's experiences. Everything is everybody wants to compare everything. Well, people die all the time. Things burn down all the time. Like people will find a way to make it like it's not a big deal because it doesn't affect them. And then the minute something hits their doorstep, then they want the whole world to stop, right? Which is crazy to me. So even thinking about like the Eaton fire in Altadena, right? Like now this was a Black neighborhood, right? When we're talking about like great migrations, there were several, but Altadena is one of these areas that counts as like that second great migration for like Black Americans, where this is an area where, we've talked about redlining a million times, but this was an area where Black people were able to set up shop, right? Black people moving from the South, some parts of the Midwest, going to California, setting up shop there, building neighborhoods, having their own everything, establishing a culture, a rich culture on top of that. And just seeing that the majority of that neighborhood is gone and it's ashes is just like, are you kidding me? And I think the saddest part is knowing that developers are already marking up where they want to come and swarm in, right? Where they will come in there and start rebuilding and developing, but they're going to price the original residents out. I pray it won't happen, but we've seen patterns. We've seen what's happened to a lot of different places, right? And one of the things too is like when you're talking about some of these neighborhoods, these are homes that have been passed down generationally as well. Because some people are like, oh, well, they could just buy another, so on and so forth. Like, understand, when we're talking, not retail, but when we're talking as far as just the overall cost of properties in that area, especially when you're talking the Palisades area, like the median household value was $3.1 million, right? And that's because of just the area and the appreciation over time. And it's prime real estate. It's close to Los Angeles. It's close to the to the beaches in Santa Monica and Malibu and all these different areas and everything else like that. And Culver City's not too far and all the Hollywood studios. And so, these are homes that were not purchased for $3 million, but there's a lot of homes that, were purchased for back in the 60s for, $30,000 or $40,000, maybe even less. They've appreciated over time, different things. And so, these are gems to the people that are able to hold on to them. And now it's like all of that is gone. And I think the crazy part too, and going back to what I was saying, like, I think only people who've been through this can understand. I don't even think I can understand it because it makes me think of like people in like, remember Moore, Oklahoma? That it was that area that got hit by the F5 tornadoes like more than once. Like it happened in '99, and I think it happened some years later where everything was gone. Or even like people on the island Montserrat, right? It's an island that will never quite be the same. People still live there, but many left because of the volcano that kept erupting and just. I just think for those who don't have to experience what we're watching on the news because we get the luxury to change the channel or we get the luxury to close the app and we don't want to read it anymore, really be grateful for the things that you have and the people who are in your life and the experience that you have, right? Because life changes so quickly. Like you just never know. These people were just celebrating Christmas, right? Just celebrating the new year. And now this is their reality, right? And I think the other part that's annoys me is even just the cruelty that exists, right? Reading about the insurance companies, right? So a lot of people being dropped from their policies a few months beforehand. So I was reading the numbers. State Farm dropped 1,600 different people who had policies. There were 9,000 people in the Palisades area, right? Or at least households, right? 1,600 policies that were dropped in July. That's just a few months ago, right? And then there were another 2,000 dropped from their policies in other LA zip codes, right? And other insurance companies like Farmers and Allstate were also ones dropping it. Like 1 in every 7 residents in that area now, because they were not able to get additional insurance, they had to register it's called the Fair Access to Insurance Requirement. So it's kind of like a state sanctioned kind of insurance thing. And it's not really the best insurance, but it's something that the downside is it's twice the cost of regular insurance for like that kind of coverage. But it's like, since 2019 in the state of California, you've had 100,000 people lose their policies, right? And 72,000 of them alone were from State Farm just last year, which is crazy. And it's not just California. We're seeing it in Florida, right? All these, in a lot of places that have been hit by a lot of hurricanes or tornadoes, you're seeing the insurance companies just pull out because it's like, well, look, y'all keep getting hit by the same storms in the same areas. We're not going to keep covering you. And I think what's jacked up is you pay all this money into insurance, and then when you finally need it, they're like, oh, you're on your own, right? Which is wild to me. And I've seen people say things like, well, why don't you all just move? If you know that it's a bad area, just move. It's hard to sell a house when it's not insured. Like, it's hard to sell a house in an area that's not insurable. We've had that conversation with Flint. where people are always like, why can't the people in Flint just up and go? And it's like, well, if we go down the pipeline of everything, no pun intended, but like, again, you have all these pipes that are corroded with the rust and everything in literally every house, right? You can't even sell these houses until you fix the piping. But even in that conversation, a lot of the homes are no longer insurable because of the water crisis that was there. And so people don't get the luxury just to up and go. And even if they could sell the house, there's an element of depreciation that's been there because of this issue since the early 2000s, or sorry, excuse me, the early 2010s. So you wouldn't even get the value of what you initially purchased the house for. Like, there's so many things to consider. But again, a lot of times it's people from the outside looking in who swear they have the answer to everything. Everybody knows everything, right? Everybody's so smart about what they would do in a certain situation until they get dropped off into it, right? I think you have to look at situations like this almost like a pre-existing condition, but for property, right? And I think it's jacked up where we've seen Airbnb skyrocket and hike up their prices. We've seen hotels kind of hike up their prices. Some of the landlords are now hiking up the rent because now this is the perfect opportunity to cash in, because there's tons of people who need housing. There's tons of people who need a place to stay. There's tons of people who need something stable while they figure out what's next. And then you have a lot of greedy people who are like, this is the perfect time to harp in. Now, I hope people understand California law, because in the state of California, anytime there's a natural disaster, for the first 30 days, it is illegal to hike up the prices of anything over 10%. So for those of y'all that are out here thinking it's time to cash in, you better pay attention to state laws, okay? Jail up to 1 year, punishable by a fine of $10,000, right? I think the other sad part is also the misinformation that's been kind of not even misinformation, because I'm going to say disinformation, because people are purposely putting things out there to stir up chaos and confuse folks. The thing that pissed me off the most was the clip of the black family that was trying to salvage their items, and somehow the narrative turned into these were people that had driven all the way to that side of town to go and loot people who had evacuated. Because again, they love to paint black folks to be criminals and violent and everything else. And then watching so many accounts and people respond to that clip and vilify. Even what's the goofy dude from Fresh and Fit podcast? The dude that hates the fact that he's Sudanese and wishes he was a white man so bad, and also hates black people. That guy, even he jumped onto it, and I'm like, okay, see, nonsense, right? And so the idea of just disinformation floating around and narratives where you get all these things that are put out there, and what they end up doing is the information that matters gets lost in the shuffle. Right? The information about how you can support or resources that people can utilize, all that gets lost in the shuffle because there's so much chaos floating around and disinformation, right? And, you know, even the conversation about the $770 for the millionth time, every time that there is some kind of natural disaster, you automatically can qualify for $770 from FEMA. That's not to replace and rebuild your life. That's for you to get by in those instant moments where, again, when I had that question of what do you do in those first moments when your house is smoldering and it's literally only been 10 minutes, what do you do in those moments, right? That money is specifically for like getting by. That's for water. That's for toothpaste. That's for women's, you know, products and everything, or hygienic products and everything like that, right? You know, because understand a lot of people, depending on what it is, say you work somewhere that's a mom and pop shop and the mom and pop shop is gone. There's no payroll. You know, if you were at Berdine's hair salon, that's no longer there, and maybe she did everything with cash or manual checks. If the salon is gone, there's no direct deposit coming. So people have to find ways to get by as they figure out what's next and make their claims. And then also understand even making insurance claims when there's no house there, right? People got to figure out where they can even get the stuff to mail to, right? So there's so many things to think about. And that's why like people like Elon, and I'm gonna get to him a few times tonight, because when I tell you I'm sick of this mother, right? Somebody like Elon jump in the way, right? Stir up all this chaos, again, try to stir these narratives and try to, for some reason, politicize all of this, because we're in this weird arena as well where every time there's a natural disaster, people want to use this as an opportunity to get political points, right? And political points that lead to nothing. It's more so just bragging rights and I told you so, when in reality, you haven't told us anything, because a lot of times you're in the wrong, right? So Elon trying to stir up these narratives about what was wrong with the fire departments and everything. And it's like, it's a large scale fire. There's this idea that when people were talking about the hydrants not having the water pressure, I'm like, yeah, because when you have a fire hydrant, that's for a building or two that's on fire. Maybe even a city block that's on fire. But when the whole town is on fire and you're using every hydrant, right? Like, it's going to play a role in the water pressure. It's going to play a role in everything. In addition to the fact that California, we know, is back and forth between droughts, right? So it's like, why jump out there and try to paint this to be some kind of like political end game? Like, I can't figure out Elon. Like, I don't know why people run behind this man, but it is, I don't know, even Tuberville out of whatchamacallit, not yeah, Tuberville, who was saying like, okay, well, for California to get their relief, we should withhold the funds until they make some changes. Or even Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, talking about, well, in order for California to be able to get the support that they should get, there should be some conditions they need to meet. I'm like, see, these politicians keep playing in people's faces, and really, all of this political beef is only with the politicians. Has nothing to do with the actual people that live under these systems. And that's the issue I have with politics in general is, you have so many people who are trying to have a gotcha moment or have a good soundbite or try to appear tough, that they do all of these really foolish things where people are collateral. And it goes back to what I was saying about the lack of empathy that exists, where people are literally looking at ashes for where they've lived for whatever, how many years, 30, 40, 50 years. And you're trying to make a political statement with some other person across the aisle that you don't like, and you want to have a moment. And I'm kind of over it. Everybody trying to always paint California as this place is just, God forbid. And I'm like, when we're in reality, a lot of the politicians who have the most to say about California benefit from the revenue that California brings to the U.S. economy, right? Because if we're talking about revenue versus deficit, and when we're talking about tax revenue and what states are bringing what, a lot of these states would be down bad if California decided to secede from the union. It's not going to happen. But understand, right? Like, I just need people to read. I need people to understand how all of this crap works. Like, there's too many people who are playing in everybody's faces, right? I don't know. I'm glad I didn't make a live last week, because it wouldn't have been this policy. It would have been a lot more cuss words in here. But it's just annoying to see how people continue to move, especially, again, like I said, with Elon. And I think the saddest thing with Elon, and the most weirdest thing, is like, it doesn't help that he has a cult following, right? They see him as their North Star. And it goes back to what I've been saying. The love of wealth and money has people walking around here foolishly like sheep, right? And like I've said before, wealth does not equate and is not interchangeable with intellect. But unfortunately, the love of wealth and the love of money make people think that those who have it are the experts on everything. And this is how we've gotten to, I'm trying so hard to not keep saying into a space, but this is how we've gotten into this current condition where now, even politically, look at all the people that are in charge. Half of Trump's cabinet are a bunch of billionaires, right? The super 1% of the 1%, who are now in charge of our livelihood, right? Which should tell you something. And none of these people are experts in any of the things that they think that they know about, right? Which is really awkward to me. And so, I'll just say this, like, it's dangerous when you have insecure, wealthy people who have a desire to want to be, worshipped by everybody and want to have power and carry influence, right? I mean, it sounds like the current president-elect as well, but like, somebody like an Elon, to me, it's interesting that he continues to move and pretend that he's oppressed and that everyone's out to get him, and his freedom of speech is under attack. And that's why he had to purchase X, to protect the freedom of speech of Americans. And it's like, you're not even American. Like, all this stuff you want to do, you can go home across the water and go take care of business over there. And my thing is, you would think for somebody who's worth $413 billion, if you want to have some kind of influence on what's happening in the world, you would think that you would do things that actually would be good for people. But instead, everything is centered around this man's ego and, kind of like this childhood fantasy of how he sees the world and how he wants it to be. And we all got to get in line because he believes he has the power to do so, right? So it's kind of like, it's weird to me. So it's like, even with the Twitter thing, you bought Twitter, you claimed it was to protect freedom of speech and get rid of the bots. And I don't know if y'all have been on Twitter lately, but Twitter is like a freaking Klan rally, right? It's interesting, you can no longer be banned off Twitter for calling people the N-word and monkeys and apes and all the racist stuff. That's protected. But the minute you put anything out there that gets people to critically think or challenges the status quo, your account is yanked up out of there, right? And then it's weird because he sits on the app, right? He sits in spaces and is having all these conversations. It's just weird to me because, listen, if I was worth $413 billion, you would never see me. I'd be living my life. Life would be great. I'll donate here and donate there, but I'm not worried about y'all. And it's interesting. And I don't mean it like that as far as like the hell with y'all, but I would not be so worried about how each and every one of you are moving to the point where I want to intrude and chip away at your life experiences because I don't think that's how you should be living. Like, that's weird to me. If you're worth that much, why are you worried about what I'm doing and what I think, right? So even when he keeps talking about the freedom of speech, his freedom of speech is not under attack. First of all, he's worth $413 billion. Even if you cancel him, what does he lose? Nothing. The issue is he's sensitive. He doesn't like that people don't like him. He doesn't like that people can call him out. So he's trying to find every way to shut down any kind of criticism because he has a God complex. That's really what that's about. I'd say Vivek has that too. Like a lot of these billionaires have that same kind of thing. And even as you see how they move, right? Whether it's Zuckerberg, whether it's Bezos, you can tell that like a lot of these men are very insecure about just how they see themselves. Yes, they have all this money, but look how quickly they cave to certain political climates and political discussions. Zuckerberg is now saying, oh, well, we're going to get rid of the fact-checking elements on Facebook and create our own office in Texas because in California, y'all are too woke or too this or too that, right? And we're also going to randomly get rid of women's tampons in the bathroom because for some reason that is a sign of weakness and not masculinity. I was like, I'm not trying to sound graphic, but women have a cycle every month. What do you want them to do? Just not, they got to bring their own. Like, is that really something we want to politicize? Where it's always been a common practice in many businesses where, okay, in the women's restroom, there's products for women to use when that time of the month comes. So why, as a man, are you worried about what's happening on that side of the bathroom, right? So it's just interesting to see how all these folks are moving on certain things. And this whole idea of the red pill nonsense and how strong these are all people who got rejected in middle school. The girl said, no, I don't want to go to the dance with you because I'm going with the boy from whatever basketball team. And these folks have gotten wealthy and they're still mad about stuff from 30 years ago. And now all of us got to be collateral to their rage and their vengeance, right? Which is why you notice that for all the wealth that they have, their speaking points and the things that they're passionate and they get behind sound like the voices of working poor white men that are pissed off about the fact that the world left them out. And they're watching other people climb and escalate, and they feel like what other people have should be theirs. And it's interesting watching billionaires have those same talking points. What are y'all doing? All of y'all are crazy. This is why I don't have it. I really don't. And so now we got the space where you have all these billionaires and folks who have been gassed up because of their wealth, and they think that they're the voice of reason for all things with regard to intelligence, right? Because again, people have convinced themselves that Elon has built these cars that keep blowing up and falling apart. He didn't build these cars. All he did was buy the company, right? They think Elon is the one making the rockets going to Mars. I'm like, no, he's not making anything. Again, bought the company. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry. What are we going to Mars for? Why? For what? What y'all going to do when y'all get up there? Like, honestly, y'all can honestly go. I'd be happy. Get on a ship, load up. We'll see you later. You don't even got to worry about coming back. But with reality, this goes back to what I was saying as far as where people's money could go. And I'm not a pocket watcher. People can do what they want with their money, but I always feel like don't let your money intrude on somebody else's experience. My thing is, if you have that kind of money or you want to improve or, have a positive influence on society, invest in things that actually effing matter. I'm not thinking about Mars. I have no desire to live there. I'm not interested in that cold planet that's way over there with a different atmosphere that is not, calibrated to how I live and breathe here, right? So instead, they'll spend money on dumb things and everything, but also lobby and advocate for the dismantling of K through 12 education, right? For the dismantling of things that people depend on so that they can have an upper hand in certain things. And that kind of is going back to even with the fires. It's one of the things that has me nervous with what I think some people are trying to do. I'm not going to jump into no conspiracies because I don't want to put nothing out there unless it's actually true. But we've seen patterns where things happen and wealthy people swarm in and find opportunity, right? And so it's just interesting to me. I don't know. I'm gonna stop right there, but it's just these wealthy folks get my freaking nerves, right? I'm sorry, Elon's not smart. He's never been. He just came into some money. He came into some blood money from some apartheid mess and stuff aligned, right? I think he might actually be a little touched upstairs, and unfortunately, because again, everybody worships the super wealthy and thinks somebody like Elon is everybody. That's who they should aspire to be like. I don't have it in me. I don't. All right, let me read some comments here. Elon disciples, you can say what you want in the chat. I promise you, I don't care. I wouldn't even want to have $413 billion because what kind of life can you live? At that point, you have everything. So what is it that you can strive and aspire for? You have nothing to do but find things to mess up, right? All right. Let's see here. I ain't mean to get on my soapbox, but Elon, I got more to say about him later on. I'm gonna come back to it. There's some people I probably would catch a charge for. I'm just saying. I might have to catch a charge. Calvin, who was the guy in the Zoom last year? His title was something 1814. He was the only other guy in the live. Oh, that's Jalil. Yeah, Jalil. He's on some of the stuff. I think he's a mod on here too sometimes. Yes, that's one of my fellow music friends. All right. Easier said with Meg. For New Orleans recipe, Chef Charlie Andrews has a nice wholesome. Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you. What up, Order of the Bees? Yeah, y'all just email me some gumbo recipes, right? CalvinBMichaels.com or CalvinMichaels.com and send me a message, or just hit my Instagram, give me a beat, and send me some recipes that way, right? Damn, y'all are fast. Hold on. I just said it. Y'all are. Okay, listen, that, like, dang, man. If people move like that at work, we'd be in business. Man, okay. Hey, BB said, people are in shock. Some are mad they can't go back right away and the embers are still hot. Still have to turn off the gas lines and tonic fumes from everything in the house burning from the batteries to the walls. It's just, I hate that people have to, like, I'm very, again, empathetic to everybody's journey. Even people I got smoke for, I still be having some empathy for. But like, I can't imagine, right? Like, I told the story before. I just had, my dad wanted me to turn all of our home videos into DVDs. So he mailed the box to my house, but I was in Myrtle Beach at the time and the box disappeared, right? One of my neighbors in one of my old buildings or old apartment neighborhoods, somebody took the box. We ain't ever seen the box since. That was 2012. That was all of my childhood. Every home video I had from birth until age 17 was in that box and it's gone. And I still, every now and then I get pissed every time I think about it and knowing that I'm probably never going to see that box again, right? That was just a box. Imagine your whole everything, right? Like, man. I have not been following. Just occasionally heard folks saying no sympathy for these celebrities. It's terrible to know how many lost everything. Even with celebrities, I get that they're in a different space and they have the luxury to, buy new things. But I will say two things. One, a lot of these celebrities are not as wealthy as we think they are. A lot of these celebrities, oddly enough, are living gig to gig in the same way some of us live check to check. And I will say too, with all that being said, they still have their sentimental things that matter to them as well. So that's kind of where that element of empathy comes on my end. But for me, my priority would be those who don't live in those tax brackets, who really are going to have to really figure out how to make things work, right? The benefit of some of these celebrities who are in a different tax bracket is they have resources that can kind of help them rebuild a little faster. There's still things that they've lost and things that will never be the same. And some of these people have lost their homes for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's still a human experience. So I'm never one to really want to try to compare losses and tragedy. But yeah, I think for everybody who's experienced it, I just think it sucks either way. All right. Yes, my grandfather's house so far has been fine. But he got a little sick from the air this week because he went to the barber shop and the ash and stuff in the air is not good, and he's in his 90s. So yeah. Somebody said the DEI comments are ridiculous. Don't get me started on that. I should have made that a topic tonight and I didn't. But you guys see how everything is moving. Remember back in 2020, right? When all those companies started pledging for diversity, inclusion, this and community building, this and all, and I kept saying, give it a minute. As soon as commerce is no longer affected, they're gonna start backtracking. We noticed that most of these companies never donated to any of these things that they claim that they were donating to, and we're watching all these companies get rid of their DEI departments. And again, it's not because of a conversation of merit or qualification. Again, it's wealthy white men who feel insecure because other people are climbing the ropes, and sometimes not even wealthy white men, just white folks in general who think that anything that somebody else has is supposed to be theirs, and if they got it, it's because they didn't earn it or they did something they weren't qualified. And so now we're watching, like McDonald's has gotten rid of the diversity, whatever they had. And I'm like, really? But watch their advertising still have them commercials specifically targeted to Black folks, right? Same kind of nonsense. You're watching so much shit. It's happening in academia where scholarships are being, rewritten and restructured. And I don't know. It's wild to me. I don't have to really rehash what I've already said because I've done that Owen about DEI video, and I think everything still stands. But it's interesting to see how people move. Like when we're talking white America, the minute they see anybody getting any kind of collective gain, they think that they're losing something. And that's what happens when you think you own everything. That's what happens when you think that you're supposed to be centered in all things. The minute you see somebody else having a piece of anything that you think you deserve, not only do you get mad about it, but you go out of your way to shut it down and make sure nobody else gets it, and then that you can collect on it and shift the narrative so that you're the beneficiary of whatever it is that's there. That's Edward Bloom's entire shindig, right? That's his whole bailiwick, is finding smoke with everything. And my suggestion is, for all of these scholarship programs and everything, make sure you are rewording what is in the narratives about your programs, right? Because the idea of centering things specifically on race no longer work anymore, because they keep finding ways to reverse it. Sadly, a lot of the gains that we had politically and progress that was made, and again, all of this, like I said some lives ago, when it comes to race, nothing is precedent. It's always going to be changing, right? So things that people thought were locked in and good to go have just been chipped away, and they literally use the very language that we put in there to protect ourselves to weaponize against us, as far as like things like terms like discrimination, terms like inequality and everything else like that. And so things that were centered in equity, things that were centered in making people whole, are now being painted as a weapon against white people. And so here we are. And I think this is why with a lot of the movements you've seen conversations centered around the idea of lineage. And I've always said the goal also has to be, you have to show cause and effect. You have to show the cause of the current condition you're in, right? Going to the origin, and then that origin has to be backed, and you have to back it by the policies that are placed in the law. The one thing you can't argue against is what's been placed in the law. You can't argue against what's been put in a covenant. You can't argue against, what's an ordinance that's there and how it affects people. That's something you can't argue against. It's a tangible. It's there, right? So cause and effect. That's the cause. Now, what's the effect? Here's the end result. Here's 30, 40, 50, 60 years of something. Here's 5 or 6 generations of something. This is why we're here. Like, if you're not approaching it that way, the Edward Blooms of the world and the Elons and Viveks who think they got the world figured out are going to continue to keep going after every and anything. And because we have a lot of people in the judiciary branch and in federal courts that have been appointed that weren't qualified to begin with, go back to my DEI video as far as these white judges that got put in there for political reasons. As long as you have a lot of people like that in office or in positions of power, we're going to keep seeing things shift and change. Like it's a lot going on. Like one of the craziest things that I saw too, even when you're talking sexual health, right? One of the things that was in the Affordable Care Act, as the research became more advanced with things like HIV and AIDS research, now there's all these wonderful products that are out that help prevent the spread of HIV, spread of all these sexually transmitted diseases. Like, there's things like PrEP, and there's things like DoxyPrep that people can take after having whatever experience and making sure that they haven't caught any bacterial viruses and all that. And now even that's going to the court where they want to say that, because mind you, under the Affordable Care Act, all of those kind of things are free, right? Free for anybody. Somebody off the street, especially like, and I'm not trying to get all graphic, but especially when we're talking people who, in order to get by, they have to get people to pay them for sex and all that kind of stuff. People that are prone to catching something, right? All of those kind of medications and stuff are free under the Affordable Care Act. Evil people decided, no, that shouldn't be free. We should be paying for that, right? And so now that's kind of something that's finding its way to the Supreme Court. And it's interesting because, again, if we go back 30 years, right, especially HIV/AIDS, it was still something so massive in the United States where, tons and tons of money went to research to try to figure out how to stop this thing from spreading. And it's like now, instead of making sure that you can almost eradicate this specific, condition, people want to politicize it, pretend to be holier than thou, and it goes against Christian values and blah, 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 blah. And so they'd rather have the opportunity for things to spread again, right? Same thing with the I think it was the governor of Indiana who was talking about, Indiana's going to be a free state where the schools are free from vaccinations and wokeness. And I'm like, all y'all just shut up. Everybody's not out to get y'all. Like, the thing about the United States right now for me is every time there is progress made or every time there's an opportunity for life to get better for people, everything gets politicized. And again, that same collective that wants to hold on to everything goes and puts all of their effort into, again, putting everything right back to where they want it to be at the expense of everybody else, whether people want it or not, right? Look at how the Supreme Court moves. You can see the polling with what Americans tend to say. This is what we support. This is what we don't support. Supreme Court doesn't care. A lot of the people who run for office, they run on certain platforms, they get in the door and then do the polar opposite, right? We have politicians that run as in one party, and as soon as they get in, they switch and say, well, actually, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Republican, or I'm a this. Like, it's nonsense. I didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but I'm just saying. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, Tuberville, he tried it with that one. Like, I'm not gonna say that, but if the shoe was on the other foot, that's all I'll say. Um, let's see. Somebody said Elon and Mark Zuckerberg are going to be at the inauguration, and I'm glad it's going to be 16 degrees that day too. I hope a freaking blizzard comes. I hope we have a repeat of 1841. But anyway, um, let's see. Yes, hey, baby, you're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I just don't want to repeat it out loud. Um, let's see. Somebody said film products are expensive, and I think as men, okay. The cool thing with having a family where, like, on my mom's side, everybody was women. I only had, because all of the men unfortunately died really young. So other than one uncle, everybody on my mom's side were all women. So having all these aunties and cousins, and then just me, my cousin Brandon, and my brother Marcus, right? You have an understanding of the things that women deal with. So when I'm speaking to us men, we have no idea how much stuff women got to deal with as far as their bodies. It's a bigger conversation than just, tampons and what's the other thing? God, y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's bigger than just that. Like, there's so many things that exist and changes, and when the cycle starts, we're not gonna go through the whole history of everything, but like, they got a lot going on. We should just be grateful we ain't got to deal with it. So why jump in the way and make it difficult for them just because for you it makes you uncomfortable? Grow up. Like, man. Oh, y'all still talking about Mars? Look, they can go to Mars. Please go. First of all, yeah, please go. Because the thing I love the most is it takes 18 months just to get there. So good luck. Let them go. And seeing how these Teslas and batteries don't be working and stuff, I wouldn't trust them ships to make it there. I tell you that. Good luck. Look, we still got the astronauts now that still ain't got home yet. I think they come back on the 25th. The ones that, remember, they left. It was supposed to be a 2-week trip, and they've been up there for 6 months. Y'all go to Mars if you want to. Somebody said incels come in all flavors. I agree. They certainly do. Um, Somebody said I've been asking for gumbo recipes for at least a year. I probably have asked before. I can't remember if I did. Um, Somebody said, Calvin, your comedically hard-headed podcast is funny as F. My fave is the one with your brother eating everything your dad locked the cabinets in the fridge. Oh yeah, that's a funny one. I think that's the 6th or 7th grade episode. Yeah, that's a funny one. Yeah, I keep trying to tell people the comedically hard-headed podcast is not the YouTube lives. It's something totally different. So the lives are me cussing out everybody and talking politics, but comedically hard-headed is storytelling. It's time for a good laugh. Like, if you want a podcast that's funny, listen to comedically hard-headed. We're not on there talking about what the problems are with women and what the problems are with men and why we ain't doing none of that. I'm just trying to tell you stuff that happened back in the past, right? Let's see. All right, we got to keep it going, y'all. I'm gonna come back to the comments a little bit later. Okay. TikTok. All right. I think it sucks for people where that's their livelihood. Um, I'm not really. I made a TikTok, but I never really ever use it. Like, y'all might have remember I announced I had made one, but then I never use it until maybe 3 months ago because I made one post which was just promoting the music video. But I've never really been. I never made it on TikTok like that. Like, I told myself I was already on too many social media platforms, and I knew if I started to use TikTok and scroll all day, I'd never get anything done. So TikTok is an app I've never really used that much, even though, like, relatives will send me different stuff. But I think for people who, again, that's their livelihood, I think it sucks that that is the end result. And I know the narrative that's been out there is there's a conversation about, like, information and stuff being compromised. My question with that, though, at the same time is, but y'all got, what is it, Shein and Temu and Fashion Nova and all these other things that people buy like fast fashions from that are from the same country where you give all your credit card information and everything else. And I'm wondering like where's the difference here with all that? That's just me. I could be 100% wrong, but I think a lot of it was more so politicized because it's like everyone's fearful of, and I have a different opinion on TikTok as far as what I think the real issue is, but it's like they politicize that, but then so when they're talking national security, this, that, and the third, is TikTok is the devil, but then they're totally fine with all of the other national security threats, whether it be stuff being compromised in the elections, whatever Russia has going, whatever happens with Saudi Arabia, all these different places, silent on that, right? Silent on that. Government officials trying to pull out of world treaties and stuff that the United States is in that compromise the well-being of everybody. All of that's perfectly fine, but y'all are mad at people dancing on TikTok. That's the thing where I'm like, okay, now I get there could have been other options with regard to how they wanted to handle that platform, but I think because it's also a platform that is not really controlled by those who want to kind of shift the narrative of how things happen here, I think that plays a huge role in it as well. Now, I'm not saying that China's this perfect country and they're not trying to do the same thing we're trying to do to them in the same way that what Russia's trying to do to us and what we're trying to do to them, and how all the world powers are secretly fighting each other in technology. Like, that's no secret, right? But I think it's just interesting to see how certain things move in that realm. So yeah, it sucks. Now I've seen there's been a lot of creators who, because the announcement was made like a year or two ago about what was happening, there have been some who've tried to transition into other platforms to kind of make sure that they could still have their audiences and all. But I think I don't know why the US didn't try to find another way to like. Actually, I'm not gonna say that because I don't like that idea either. Good luck, folks. That's all I got. Let me see the comments here. Let's see. Somebody said, I'm scared they may be getting rid of the Civil Rights Act. Well, hell, they get rid of everything. Like, again, 6 years ago when I started these lives and I kept saying the main thing was they're going to start cementing things. That's what they're doing right now, right? They got all the people in the places that they want them to be in, and now they just got to act and move and do the things that are requested, which is what I kept warning about. But again, people want to, especially with this last election, people want to play semantics and optics and latch onto things that I did not think carried enough weight to carry an election. But for some people, that was their deciding factor. So, okay, here we are. Somebody said, America makes the word free sound like a dirty, nasty, shameful word. Uncharitable, begrudging, penny pinching, spiteful, vengeful, down to the maxi pads. I cannot. And that goes back to that whole, and I think a lot of it really, the mindset was already there. But Nixon and Reagan together, especially Reagan, really like drove it home and painted a picture where if you're not struggling physically as far as how hard you're working and not like literally crawling home because you worked yourself to death, then you don't deserve anything. Like, that's kind of what's been there. And so now things that our government could easily afford to do and supply, we paint as handout or welfare and all these different things. And then we even paint people who are on welfare as bad people. We paint people who need support from the government as bad people or people who don't work hard. And I think that's some BS, right? Especially when a lot of people, especially people who are in service jobs or jobs that work with the public, those are some of the hardest working people, but they get some of the lowest wages. So they definitely need an additional boost sometimes from the state or the city or whatever to kind of help with them on their journey as they work. Because the fact that people in this country are working full-time jobs and don't have enough to make ends meet should tell you something. The fact that we have so many people who have full-time jobs and have side hustles to pay their bills, right? There's lots of people who could come home from work and come home to do more work, right? That's the reality. And we paint that as normal when it shouldn't be. I feel like if you have a job and you're working 40 hours a week, you should have that. It should pay you enough to live, right? And it's not saying you have to be rich, but if you're spending, again, 40, and that's just the minimum, right? I think back to working with the kids. We worked 40 hours a week, but we also didn't get overtime. So if we had, and a lot of times we worked over that 40 hours and we weren't compensated for it. And the way that they would guilt you is, oh, well, it's for the kids. It's the impact. You're changing lives. And there's only so many lives you can change when you got to keep giving up every weekend, right? So things like that. But we painted just common decency as a problem. And it goes back to what I was saying with, again, that lack of empathy and this weird arena where everybody wants to be super bad and super tough. Like, you got to be tough and strong. Like, y'all go ahead and be all that. I would like to just live a life where I ain't got to be stressed out. Like, what kind of mess is that, right? Let's see. Oh, now I was gonna say, yeah, fan base. Isaac Hayes the third. I know he has the app, which is kind of like an app that mirrors what a TikTok is, and he's been kind of pushing that. So I know a lot of people have been going on fan base. Same thing with X. People have been leaving Twitter and going to different apps and everything. So yeah, I hate that these billionaires have bought up all the stuff. Now, I saw that there were rumors that Elon was going to purchase TikTok. I don't think that's necessarily true, but God forbid if he ever did. Y'all can throw that app in the trash too, because everything will be censored on that app. Everything will be yanked down immediately. Okay, moving on. So, inauguration is coming, right? Confirmation that Orange Man is back in office. My God. It's interesting because people are mad at Michelle Obama because she will not be at the inauguration. And they were also mad that she did not go to Carter's funeral. Can I tell you my 2 cents on all that? I'm over the political theater. I don't know why people want to pretend that all these people are friends and get along. If I was Michelle Obama, the hell with the inauguration as well. Like, for Michelle, the woman's mama died. This woman came out of mourning to go and speak at the DNC convention. To me, she had the best speech at the convention too, by the way. Speak at the DNC convention, then do all this campaigning and go here and go there and really drive, especially for women, white women, really drive home the conversation of women's reproductive rights and what's going to happen and this, that, and the third, only for the same shenanigans from 2016 to happen, where after all that didn't matter, Orange Man got back in there. If I'm Michelle, you don't got to worry about seeing me at nothing else. I'm not coming back outside. I'm not doing no more conventions. Y'all got it. Good luck. I don't like none of these people. I'm not going to sit here and be fake. What's the point? Like, this whole political theater of always trying to do this whole thing of, I think what it paints a picture of, it makes it seem like everybody's fine with what's happening. It's currently an S-word show right now. But if everybody sits in kumbayas, it will make the rest of us just feel comfortable with the nonsense we're about to witness and what we're witnessing. And I don't think Michelle's down with that. She said the hell with that. And I think it's just, to be honest, like, these people don't like her anyway. Even in the Democratic Party, there's a lot of people who were not crazy over Michelle. It goes back to what I was saying, where the love that Michelle gets from a lot of Americans pisses off a lot of people, even in the Democratic Party, because they're like, we want that. Why the hell does she get it, right? And so why subject the black woman to sit in 20-degree weather to a mob of, there's probably gonna be 300,000 or 400,000 people out there, and probably no more than that, but literally a Klan rally in 20-degree weather to watch, again, what I call white rage as a reaction to the election of her husband. Why should she have to sit out there and witness that a second time? I wouldn't be out there either. F it. Like, Trump didn't go to Biden's thing, so why? And Michelle's not even an elected official. Why does she have to go to anything? She's better than me, because I would say that for all y'all. Like, I ain't coming, and that's it. That's all it is to it. Like, I wish, especially with Democrats, they would stop the political theater. Because my thing is, who are you trying to impress? Like, who are you trying to win over? This whole idea of we're the good guys does not really work anymore. Like, we've seen what America has chosen a few times, right? So this whole idea of trying to paint themselves to be on their best behavior all the time, it doesn't work anymore. That works in old American politics. That works under the old guard. That works in the era of, Gerald Ford after Nixon got out. That works in that era where you can still have the dinners and all the parties sit together and laugh. Like, this is not the same United States of even 20 years ago, right? You literally watch somebody win twice on a campaign of hatred, right? And not only that, the people that have been selected to be in these spaces, all the DEI nominations of people who are unqualified, who move in the spaces of spite, who move with vengeance, who move to want to give it to the other guy, who want to show you something, right? That's reality right now. So why are we doing this political theater and pretending that we have to have decorum with everything? They haven't had decorum with anything in forever. But the burden is on y'all. Folks are mad because she's not going. I wouldn't go to that either. I live in DC and ain't going. Hell, I'm skipping town. I don't want to be here, mainly because Cuckoo Man is having a rally at the arena, Capital One Arena, which is just down the street from me. I'm like, nah, let me not even be in town, because all it takes is one person to bump my shoulder the wrong way when I'm walking to the coffee shop, and I'm gonna be ready to swing on everybody. So for my own peace of mind, let me just skip town. I don't want to be here. Plus, that collective, as far as the cult supporters, they come out here and start feeling themselves, right? Again, I was here for January 6th. A lot of those people stayed in my neighborhood at the hotels when I was in my old place. And now I'm even closer to where all that crap is. No, there's people out there already looking for an opportunity. I will not give it to them. So now I'm going to go and find something nice and enjoyable to do out of town. So F all that. And yeah, so I don't know. It's like the only time they want to have decorum is when there's these ceremonies, but then when it's time for the actual politics, it's a mudslinging thing, right? Look at even today, Jasmine Crockett and Nancy Mace, right? Jasmine was literally talking about why, when it comes to the subcommittees, because there's a subcommittee that's been yanked down, right? It was the Oversight Committee, or the Oversight Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, right? That's gone. She was advocating for that to return. And she just talks about how, again, there's all these different things happening in the country, and, we want to make sure everybody's protected. What does the other side do? And now it turns into a war, right? Nancy Mace says some little smart mouth stuff, and Jasmine responds with like, child, da 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 da. Because black folks, we child, da 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 da. Nancy doesn't understand that specific vernacular, and she thinks that Jasmine called her a child. Now, because I am not a child, I am a grown woman. And then what does she say? We can take it outside. And I'm like, Nancy, please. Okay, white women, I'm sorry. I don't know why y'all do this thing where y'all like try to be all super tough. I don't buy it. And I only say that because even in this building, I can't wait to move out of here, by the way. There's only like 4 black people in this building. I'm one of the only ones. And so I see the body language every time I'm in the mailroom, every time I'm in the elevator, every time I'm in the hallway, the uncomfortableness of me in the space. Cut the crap. Like, I almost wanted Jasmine to take her up on it and meet her outside, just because. But, and it goes, again, with that conversation of decorum. If Jasmine were to tell Nancy Mace, we can take it outside or meet me outside, it would have been on every news cycle, and Jasmine would have been all kind of unprofessional and DEI and unqualified, and they would have been trying to not sequester her. They would have, what's the thing they do? Censure her. The same thing they did to the Tennessee 3. They would have been making an example out of her, right? But again, certain folks get to do whatever they want to, and then folks still want to play decorum and play political theater. Past it. Cut the crap. At this point, the cards have been, everybody showed their cards at this point. So why are we still like playing these political theater games? And I'm over it. Like, I don't want to have dialogue with a lot of y'all, not y'all subscribers, but y'all, and y'all know who I'm talking about. I have no desire to be in a lot of spaces with some of y'all. Just you do your thing, I'm gonna do mine, stay out of my way. And I'm gonna stay out of yours. That's it. I don't have to kumbaya with everybody. I'm good. I ain't gotta be friends with everybody. I'm really good, right? And that's all it is to it. Let me read some comments here. Like, I'm not trying to be friends with everybody. F all that. Too many friends lead to too many problems. Calvin, please talk about Pete's confirmation hearing. That was a mess too. Again, please go back to my So About DEI video when we talk about people who are unqualified. Pete had so many accusations and charges and public displays of drunkenness and all these crazy things that's happened, and cheating on the wife of one woman while she was pregnant with this, like all kind of stuff. And he'll probably get confirmed. And the crazy thing is, every time he answered, he had to keep saying stuff like, oh, well, that was disproven and that charge has been thrown out. I'm like, are y'all not embarrassed? Somebody who looks like me has to be the epitome of perfection to just be deemed half as good. But somebody like Pete can come out there with everything he has going and get confirmed, right? A mess. And it goes back to cementing. It's going to start becoming the norm, right? Let's see here. Oh, happy birthday, Star Cherry. Marathon Girl 27 said they will eliminate hate crimes, no extra penalties for crimes due to racism or homophobia. That they're already, like, exactly all that's happening, right? What's the case where the hate crime was just thrown out? It's one of these. It wasn't Jordan Neely. The fact that there's so many, we start losing track. Like, it's different day and age up in here. I would really like more people to get like politically involved as far as like going into some of these smaller positions and stuff, and just getting into some of those seats, because there's so many seats that are unopposed and people just get in there. Like, understand, we would have never had Marjorie Taylor Greene if somebody would have ran against her. She ran unopposed and got in the door, then gained the following, gained power and notoriety. So she'll probably be there for a really long time now, right? It's a mess. was gonna say, I guess I can talk about it now since you brought it up. Who just asked me that? Reba and Buckner. Calvin, your thoughts on Elon wanting to increase HB1 visas for high tech jobs? Can I say this? Elon and Vivek. What's so funny to me is, and I'm not an I told you so person. I'm good on that. I don't need bragging rights. The funniest thing is when I made that Vivek video and chewed him out, right? This is before all the stuff. This was when Ann Coulter told him she would never vote for him because he was an Indian, and I was just reminding him that he's not white, right? White folks came on that video, let me have it, right? And it was because at that point in time, Vivek was saying all the things that they like to say. Like I've said before a lot of times, when it comes to like anti-blackness, white supremacy, right? You don't have to be white to be somebody to push anti-black narratives and white supremacy. Sometimes you can be the mouthpiece for it, right? People for some reason keep trying to get Candace Owens to pass, and I'm like, no, she falls in that same boat as well. I don't care if she makes sense once out of the week. At the end of the day, her primary goal is to appease white folks, not us, right? And that's why the majority of her audience is white. I've already said before, if you are a self-appointed Black community activist spokesperson, but your core audience is white, that's all I need to know. I don't know. There's another person I really want to name drop so bad, but I'm not going to stir up stuff because I don't feel like fighting with them online. But there's a whole bunch of people who, you know, they parade themselves to be, you know, pro-Black this, or I care about the Black community, but their whole audience is white. And their whole audience is white because they've been spewing white talking points on their platforms, building an audience at the expense of Black people, and then passing it off as, oh, I'm one of the enlightened Black people. The rest of them are just all stupid. Follow me, and, you know, maybe they'll learn from my ways, but follow me and support my lifestyle. There's a whole lot of people like that. So anyway, back to Vivek and Elon, right? So white folks let me have it on that Vivek video. And they were like, you're jealous because he is where you wish you could be and blah, 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 right? Then Trump won. Oh, then they had a real field day. They came back. Oh, I bet you feel stupid now, huh? Yeah, look where he's at. He's going to be controlling your life. Like, you know, they're having a field day in the comments, right? Fast forward a few weeks. What does Elon say? More HB1 visas. We need more talent. Different talent pool. What does Vivek say? Americans, y'all are stupid. Y'all spend all day focused on proms and who's the coolest person at the high school and the football this, and y'all didn't have enough kids in the sciences and the maths and everything, and now all y'all are stupid. And so, yes, we got to bring in other people from other countries in order for this country to still flourish. Pretty much told white people that y'all are stupid. Y'all are idiots. Y'all have never taken the time to evolve and work on yourselves. Look, I'm having too much fun saying this part. But I'm sorry. Anyway, but anyway, he says all that, right? And now white America's pissed, like, how dare you? And you watch the narrative shift. All of that, and this is Vivek, all of that, he was intelligent and he was out the window. Now he's all kind of sand inwards and brown this and brown that. And he should have been deported. And so it's so interesting to me because, see, again, that's how white supremacy works and anti-blackness works. People love you when you're doing their job as far as pushing certain narratives that people want to hear as far as things centered in anti-blackness, things centered around white supremacy, things and making sure that groups stay marginalized and stay in their place. So yeah, there's people who can climb the ranks who are not white, who get into these lucky positions because they're doing the job. But the minute they step out of line or go against code, shut down. So the most interesting thing now is, even in that MAGA world, there's a whole divide. You got Steve Bannon, who is anti-Elon and Vivek, and Steve is saying that, well, he said that they're racist. I said, you know, there's a lot going on when Steve Bannon is calling somebody racist. The same guy who claimed that he has superior genetics. I'm like, have you looked in the mirror? Like, and you're not even on meth, and you look like that. But like, you know it's bad when a racist person is calling somebody else racist, right? And so now you're seeing the tides turn. Vivek don't even tweet no more, right? What was so annoying, what I hate about Twitter now is, because Elon has bought it and put all this right-wing crap in it, it's like even people that you mute and that you don't want to see still find their way on your timeline. I haven't even seen Vivek in a while. I said, where's Vivek? Vivek has been cussed out and called every name in the book for the last few weeks. On top of the fact, even with them creating Doge, which was the Department of Government Efficiency, where they want to they were going to cut $2 trillion from the budget in wasteful spending. And the main thing they were going to target were government employees, which to me, I still also think that was racially motivated, because we know even when you're talking federal government employees, specifically DC, a majority of them are Black folks. Yeah. A lot of federal government is pretty much what created DC Metro's black middle class. When you're talking PG County, Montgomery County, Charles County, parts of Fairfax County where some black folks live, all that, like that's all that government side. And I think a lot of that is purposely being targeted as well, right? Because again, he has no problem with taking $4 billion out of our tax dollars to fund Tesla and everything, but you have a problem with government spending with things with research on sickle cell, right? What are y'all talking about? So no, as far as the H-1B1 visas, it's interesting. Y'all sat there and ran behind the whole anti-immigration, this, that, and the third, and you got 2 immigrants running everything now. Funny. A mess. But no, he pretty much they told Americans y'all are stupid and too bad. And the thing that's weird to me as well, and this is a bigger conversation, I think one of the problems that has happened in the last 15 years, especially with people like an Elon or Vivek or some of these other folks, is, listen, I like STEM like everybody else, but the idea of they're creating a world where we're just workers, right? They're creating a world where nothing else matters except for STEM. And so that's been like the center of everything. And what's happened is it's come at the expense of humanities, the arts. I would say things like history, music, things that, again, this life experience has so many layers to it, right? And everybody has something that they specialize in. Everybody has something that makes them unique, right? And so for some people, it's tech, right? For some people, it is the STEM stuff, right? For some people, that's their bailiwick, science, engineering, technology, math, beautiful. But I think when we get into an arena where now, you've cut arts out of the picture, you've cut recreation out of the picture, you've cut just enjoying life out of the picture because everything has to be about profit and tech, you're creating an environment where people no longer have social skills. You're creating an environment where people don't have anything they're actually passionate about. People are just moving for profit, right? And I think that's one of the things that I'm seeing as a problem with some of the narratives I'm seeing. Like, so with Vivek's approach, as far as what he said was wrong with American culture, his whole thing was you should have spent all your time in the math room and studying in labs all day. And that's fine and dandy for people who want to do that. But listen, we weren't created on this planet to be 9-to-5 workers. That just became a thing that has become the norm around the world, right? Or at least in the United States. That's not the reality of what is, but it is something that lines a lot of people's pockets. So a lot of people up top who are making all this money, because even with Vivek, the fact that he got rich from scamming people, right? You bought a failing pharmaceutical company that had some trial stuff for Alzheimer's, which kept failing through all the trials. You still bought everything, and then you sold off all your shares at a really low price and got super, super rich and everything else. And nonsense, right? It's just, I don't know. It's weird to me. I think the people who want to be in like these STEM and tech positions that really want to be there, that thrive in it, they're there, right? But there still has to be a space for other things for other people. There's going to be people who their passion is specifically, just zoology, which oddly enough, the STEM disciples don't care about no zoology. When they're talking STEM, they're thinking tech, right? All the tech stuff, everything's going to be tech, right? And now we're getting things that we're not even asking for. Now AI is coming into the picture. AI is, to me, it's a blessing and a curse, more so a curse right now. But like, and I'm going to get to that in a second too. But it's like you're just seeing just that human experience and everything just get replaced with everything again for the conversation of profit. Like these little tech bros are coming up with stuff that we didn't ask for, and it's fine to come up with it, but I think it's when you come up with it and then intrude it into our lives, and now it's the new norm, right? It's so much going on. Anyway, let me keep reading here. Somebody said I miss Black Planet. Oh, I remember my page. Let's see. Somebody said I was mad seeing Trump all over Obama at the funeral. Like, you didn't have to start a whole birther witch hunt. Like, yeah, Barack, I get it. Again, that's that whole decorum thing. I don't have it in me. Trump would have, my whole body would have been turned. Like, I ain't doing it. No, we're not friends. No, we're not. Absolutely not. Let's see. Somebody said, or the cult supporters will swing on you for a minor infraction. And I don't have the bandwidth for it today. I don't have the patience. Like when I'm coming home from work or leaving the gym or grabbing some food, I don't have time to have to be reminded about the politics of this country every time I step out the house. So, being in DC during an inauguration is not the greatest thing, especially if you were not a supporter of whoever's being sworn in, right? Oh, Carrie Underwood. I'm not even mad because that's kind of almost what I would expect. A country singer from where's she from? Oklahoma? That sounds about right. Plus, she said a few things here and there over time, so I'm not even disappointed. Carrie's not somebody I know of her, but I really don't know none of her music. I've heard the song "Jesus Take the Wheel" and "Before He Cheats," but that's all I know. So Carrie singing at the inauguration. Okay, all right. Let's see. Somebody said Carrie Underwood talking about unity. They always do that too. Like folks will do all this terrible stuff and then hide under the guise of unity, but they don't really mean unity. It's more so their definition of unity is all of us shutting up while they do their nonsense. That's unity. Everybody just shut up while we do what we do. Right? Somebody said Crockett would crush her, so it wouldn't be right. Crockett, I, I just will never be able to go into politics. I don't have it in me. I don't. They'd get rid of me real quick because one of the people I was meeting in that hallway so fast, as soon as the session was out, man. Calvin, did you hear about Oklahoma where it's illegal to be homeless in every section of Oklahoma City except for 2, even if you're escaping domestic violence? It's insane. It's happening like in a lot of cities, like where it's, you look at the park benches, they put the little shark kegs and stuff on there. They make it illegal to give water to different folks and stuff. I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that, again, if you can keep people incarcerated, you can get different services, right? Because you can have incarcerated people making license plates and tires and doing everything, or even like people right now that are fighting the fires, and some of those are people who are incarcerated, right? And it's interesting, and I think the problem is we have the worst approach to homelessness in this country. Rather than trying to remedy, and again, because I'm somebody who believes, again, a lot of the conversations are just focusing on what is the origin, right? What is the origin of the problem? We never look at the origin. We just look at the end result and attack the end result and criminalize it, right? So instead of looking at the origin of why people are homeless or why the numbers are going up, people want to criminalize it. The fact that Caitlyn Jenner ran for office, not because they wanted to make California better, but because they got sick and tired of seeing homeless people on their way to their airport hangars, should tell you something. Like, you crazy. Crazy. Did I see the external revenue service for the I saw Orange Man put that nonsense out. He's such an idiot. So stupid. And the crazy thing is, even God forbid the country goes into a straight up shit show in these 4 years and we all suffer, people will still paint it as the greatest thing ever because of the delusion and the marriage to the cult, right? So, man. Um, let me see here. Thank you, Jasmine Jones. People like Candace Owens are funny to me. They call themselves free thinkers, yet they somehow share the same talking points. They're just contrarians using rage bait to line their pockets. And we talked about that before. My question was always, how come everybody who's a free thinker always has something crazy out of pocket that's normally anti-black, right? Normally, all the people who free think, like, even when I hear people say, well, black people can think for themselves, I'm like, I'm confused at what you're trying to say here. Because to me, it sounds like you're mad at black people for being mad at anti-blackness because you want to be okay with it, because you've gotten some element of cushion by being a mouthpiece for white supremacy, and you want to paint black people to be stupid for how they move on certain things. Or even, again, even with the conversation of like the political parties. Now, I understand both parties have their agendas, but one party definitely saturates in anti-blackness. It doesn't even try to hide it. It goes back to what I was saying about if you have the house, right? Kitchen's on fire, garage is flooding. Both are a problem. But the problem is so many people will spend all of their time mad about the basement flooding that they let the rest of the house burn down while they try to worry about this little flood, when in reality, the fire moved faster than the water. They could have utilized the water to put out the fire, but they said, no, we're going to spend all this time on the water. That's kind of the approach that people have because the Democratic Party is not exempt from critique. But I noticed that people who like to critique that party specifically hound on only that party and ignore everything else about Republicans and let Republicans get away with their nonsense. And I'll hear things like, well, you know, at least with Republicans and Trump, we know what we gonna get, and you still signed up for it. Okay, cool. But as far as like Candace and the whole free thinkers thing, that's what I keep saying. And the free thinkers, to me, you're not a free thinker. Just say you align with the nonsense and you don't want to be told about yourself with it, right? I think what people forget is because Black people collectively have been through a lot of BS and we live under an umbrella of anti-Blackness, we have what you call that protective thought process, right? A lot of times collectively we have really good discernment on what to stay away from and who not to deal with. And so people that like to label themselves free thinkers get mad because one, a lot of them already think they're better than other Black people to begin with. They think all of us are stupid and they think they're one of the chosen ones, and they'll use these narratives. And I didn't grow up around Black people, so I have a different. I'm like, cut the crap, because listen, I grew up in a world where I was a speck of pepper and a bowl of salt too. Cut the crap. That's not how this works, right? So I never buy into the whole free thinkers thing. And again, going back to Candace, her core audience is white people and some random Black folks that have decided to figure out whatever they want to figure out, whatever, so on, so be it. But if your core audience is white people, you don't need to be talking about Black anything. That's how I stand with it. And that's all it is. Like, sorry. And she's already kind of pretty much told us she don't even care for us that much. It's because she also falls into like the conversation of delineation. You know, she's also half Caribbean. She already said like she'll speak for like her Caribbean brothers and sisters and all. But as far as us, we're not a priority. So why is she speaking for me? Like, sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Keep it moving. Go on to your husband and leave me alone. Maureen said, do you think the GOP MAGA will backfire one day? I want to have hope that a great wave will happen and the tide will change once people get tired of the foolishness. Pendulum keeps swinging back and forth, right? It's always going to swing. Right now, it's extremely one way. At some point, it eventually goes back the other way. But the problem is the things that have been cemented, you have to now claw and chip away and undo. And that's one of the things that sucks for Democrats is a lot of the time when they get in power, they have to spend the whole time fixing what was done wrong, right? So like Clinton gets in office, what does he have to do? Spend a lot of time undoing a lot of the nonsense that Reagan and Bush put in office, right? Obama gets in office. What was his terms like? He had to get us out of a recession, right? He had to do all these other things. He finally, and mind you, he did it with, he lost that House and the Senate by the time he got out of office, right? Joe Biden gets in office, right? I'm sure he had a whole vision of things that he wanted to do. He got to do some of it. But again, we were recovering from the nonsense that Trump did. Trump will get to come into office. He's going to inherit Biden's economy. I don't think the economy is perfect because to me, it's a gig economy where even though they're talking about all the jobs that are created, a lot of these jobs are DoorDash and Uber, and there's still jobs and stuff created. But Trump will get to come in, inherit Biden's economy, because no matter how you want to paint it, globally, the U.S. is doing better than pretty much every country right now. He'll get to inherit that. He only gets to do one term because this is it. So there's no telling what he will mess up and screw up. And let's just say a Democrat gets in 2028. Now they got to go and respond to whatever happened under the Trump era. And then that Democrat will catch smoke about why everything's wrong with the economy, blah, 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 blah. They'll probably put in another Republican, or they'll lose the House and the Senate. And the cycle just repeats itself and repeats itself. So we've seen extremities of politicians in office before, and we've seen them come and go. Eventually, I think we won't really see any progress until white people get tired. And my fear is anti-Blackness is stronger than their element of how tired they get. So I don't think they ever gonna get tired with how they move collectively. Like, right? To me, even thinking white women again, just everything we saw happen with the current Supreme Court, the previous two administrations, and just seeing the voting pattern and seeing that they pretty much still doubled down and did exactly what they did in 2016 and 2020. I'm like, they ain't tired yet. Not tired. They ain't tired enough. So, you know, they don't mind being disenfranchised a little bit if people like me have it even worse. They're perfectly fine with that. They don't mind if, you know, and it's not just them, but it's because it's like they're the first pocket of that majority demographic that's on the receiving end of a lot of bad policy. You would think that they would be like, no, absolutely not. But it's one and two. It's one or the other. One half got it figured out. The other half is like, no, we're going to hold on to patriarchy and everything else because as long as our husbands are good, we're good. So sadly, I don't think you'll see stuff shift, but I just feel like things move a lot slower, but the consequences move faster, right? Progress moves slower, consequences move faster and have a stronger effect, right? And now with this cabinet that's coming in and this Congress, it's about to be a wild ride, y'all. Buckle up. Somebody said them trying to bypass January 6th like it didn't happen is funny. they're real quiet on January 6th. The worst part is like history books are going to be very interesting with how they move. And the history books will be written based on whatever state and whatever political influence and lobbying, plays a role into who created the textbooks. We've gone through the story of how McGraw-Hill is distributed in the United States in our K-12 schools, but there are a lot of people who are convinced that nothing went wrong that day. And as somebody who lives here, it's just like, okay, it's your world. We just living in it. Yeah, free thinkers. Okay. Thank you, Eugenia Gomez. Somebody said I couldn't help but think Obama was laughing at and not with Trump. Maybe it's him trying to break bread, and maybe in his head he's thinking, well, when Trump has to make all these horrible decisions, he might remember how nice Obama was to him and give us a little grace. I don't know, but yeah, I if there's people that work I don't like, we're not sitting together in the cafeteria ever. I'm not speaking to you when I walk past you in the hallway. I got my headphones on. Leave me alone. If we have to work together, sure, we can get the job done. I will be very professional. We whatever project we want, it's gonna be the best thing ever done. But that's where it stops. We're not friends. You won't be getting a holiday card from me. I'm not telling you happy birthday on your birthday either. Like, hopefully you took the day off. But anyway, let's see. Okay. Side note, one thing I want to jump into as well. This is the music head in me. I saw this clip that kind of annoyed me a little bit. This is the conversation of AI and just music, right? I want to play. It's only like 20 seconds. I want to just play this clip and this talking point that I was like, see, this is the problem we're talking about now. Give me one second. Let's say a company. Let me get to it here. Let me go about 25 seconds in. Okay, here we go. Why am I clearing my throat like I'm about to say something? It's not really enjoyable to make music now. People enjoy it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. You need to get really good at an instrument or really good at a piece of production software. I think the majority of people don't enjoy the majority of the time they spend making music.
Do you not think that's like running? It is hard to run. It is painful to run. You don't particularly enjoy it, but you love running. And you get good at it, and you get better at it, and you speak to the runners, and they love running.
Most people drop out of that pursuit. Because it was hard. And so I think that the people that that run, this is a highly biased selection of the population. Anyway, so long story short, this is somebody who, this is that whole AI thing. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we're now living in an era where people can make entire albums through AI. They don't have to play a single instrument. They don't have to do anything, program everything. Boom, there's the music, right? Did I write what? I wrote some notes on this. Okay, here we go. Right, and so it kind of stirred up a big dialogue yesterday on Twitter with people who like make music and everything, because again, I've already said I think three things that are really screwing up society. One, especially in the United States, private equity firms that are buying up everything. And when you want to know why all of our favorite chain restaurants are closing and department stores are closing and all these businesses keep going under, a lot of them have been bought by private equity firms who have no interest in the well-being of the company. It's more so about just capitalizing on profits. And then when profits start looking flaky, something has to get cut. We'll just close that program or business and shut them down, right? Private equity firms are one. Two, AI, I think there's some good in it, especially in the sciences with research and healthcare and advancements when it comes to like, treatments and stuff. In that realm, yes, amazing. But unfortunately, it's also being utilized to cut corners on so many things, right? And it's also being utilized to almost push people out of specific industries. And then the third thing, of course, is the love of money, corporate greed, right? And so this individual is somebody who, again, what I heard is somebody who wants to be the face of creativity but doesn't have a creative bone in their body, right? I think there's too many people who want to be the face of everything without the work. And there's a lot of people who, especially like, to me, that sounds like somebody who'd be in the Elon club, right? Let me see what I can take charge of, even though I have no expertise in it, right? And so again, we're seeing that same kind of movement again. You're seeing it again in academia, you're seeing it in the workplace, even in the arts, where people want to find ways to monopolize, make maximum profit, take over certain industries that they have no real expertise in, but want to be the experts on it. And then they end up on podcasts trying to tell the rest of us this is normal, right? And so, again, this idea of being that sounds like somebody who wants to create through just the idea of programming and profits, right? Because I'll say this, any artist will tell you their favorite part of music is one, creating it, and two, performing it. Those are the things most people really, really love, right? Because as far as with music, creativity is a gift that not everybody is blessed with. Or actually, I think everybody has some element of creativity in something, right? But creativity in music specifically is not everybody's lane, right? But for those who, if that's their thing, for a lot of people, that's their escapism. That's their therapy. That's what gives them reason to get up every day. Like, if there's anything that an artist actually hates, it's the business. It's the current structure of music where, as an artist, and now that I'm 4 albums in, I can throw myself in the artist bucket too. As an artist, after you put your blood, sweat, and tears into all of your projects and everything, now you got to also be your own A&R, artist and repertoire. You got to be your own. You got to do your own marketing, right? If you wanted to go and get a record deal, right? When you go there, they're already saying, well, we need to see what your numbers look like. If you're not already coming to a label with however many tens of thousands of streams or whatever, they're not even about to give you any attention, because now you have to market yourself. You have to be your own A&R. You have to be your own advertising. You have to pretty much do everything on top of the creativity part. And the labels just want to cash in and see what they can get. And then when you do get signed, then they tell you, well, we know that you produced all of your work, but we actually want to put in our producers because we need to get in our cut. So you're not going to have any creative freedom. We're going to create what we think you should be like. And so, yes, we're going to give you this $2 million advance, but it's not actually free money. It's actually what we're spending on your project. So your project has to make this $2 million back, or you owe us $2 million on top of whatever else is in your contract, right? And so like that's the current industry. And now that you have AI, where again, people don't have to play a single key or anything, and you can make entire songs and stuff, it's shifting things. So people who actually, make music or play instruments or sing or do whatever, now they have to also compete against technology that is spearheaded by people who don't have musical talent or a passion for the music. They just want to be the face of creativity without the work, and they want the profits. And now it's like they're competing against that. If there's anything that artists hate, it's more so that it's not making the music. I could sit in the studio all day. I think one of the reasons why a lot of projects take so long is because the artists, especially if they're self-producing, they enjoy the process so much. And sometimes as an artist, you don't even realize when your project is done, because you think it's done, and then you're in bed and 2 a.m. you hop up with a new idea and run straight to your studio and get back to work because this idea is fresh in your head and you got to do it right then and there, right? And so it's just, I don't know, the industry right now is saturated with what you call quick output. The labels want you to put more and more and more out. There was a video we did a while back where one of the music execs was talking about some of the struggles the artists have. And he was saying, well, the artists need to put more music out more frequently. And I think that has also been detrimental because it's created a space where the quality gets lower and lower with each release, because artists don't get the luxury to saturate and sit in their craft anymore, because music is it's always been a business, but now it's really a business. And because the money is not circulating in the same manner, artists don't have the same freedoms they once had. And so it's all centered in output and profit, right? And so the other issue is labels and the businesses. A lot of times people that are fans of music are not in the boardrooms anymore. This is all profit. So going back to even private equity firms, a lot of people who are running some of the labels and on some of these teams have no background in music at all. They just know how to make profit, right? And so when you guys are always complaining about like why music sucks commercially, that's one of the reasons. We already know all the good stuff is kind of like the indie artists and everything. But again, and somebody had a good post about this where they called it forced consumption, right? So the idea of like, if you were a kid that grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, even the 80s and back, right? Or 80s and forward, if you watched TRL, for an example, let's say it's, what was out in 2001 that I liked? 2001 was, I'll go to 2000. I really like Dance Tonight by Lucy Pearl. That was my song, right? Which was not going to be on nobody's TRL, but let's just say it was. Right? If I'm watching TRL and I voted, and I'm hoping that Lucy Pearl's Dance Tonight makes the countdown, let's just say Lucy Pearl really was jumping like that on MTV, and it's probably going to be the #2 video. Before I can get to my #2 video, I had to sit through, you know, the other video, the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and third video on the countdown. And these would be songs that might not even be in a genre that I want to hear. So as I'm sitting here watching TRL and waiting for my Lucy Pearl video to come on, I've had to sit through Korn, you know, the Freak on a Leash. I've had to sit through Papa Roach. I've had to and sit through, not as far as like I hate it, but just being exposed to that else. Deborah Morgan, Dance With Me has to come on, and what else, 2000? What else was 2000? Ricky Martin, Christina Aguilera, Nobody Wants to Be Lonely. I got that video gonna come on, and Mandy Moore, Walk Me Home, gotta come on, and Limp Bizkit and Method Man. Remember that song they had? It's all about the he says, she says, but like all those songs gotta come. I'm gonna sit and see all those songs. So even though I was only waiting for my Lucy Pearl video, I've just been exposed to, you know, 7 or 8 other videos and other songs. And because I'm probably watching this show every day because I'm 13 years old and everybody's watching TRL when they get home, or 106 in Park, these may have not necessarily been my genre starting out, but as I've seen and heard these songs more and more and more, my ears are calibrated to be more open-minded to something new. And before you know it, now I'm discovering new music that I never had intention to get into. Today, that's not really an experience because we have free will and choice to kind of pick whatever we want to listen to. So like, you know, you make your Spotify, and the cool thing with like Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal is that they will calibrate what you listen to what they think you might be interested in. And so even the songs that are recommended still stay in a certain bubble of what you listen to. And so it's so hard to get exposed to things that are way out there now, because if you haven't directly gone out of your way to find it, it's not really going to land on your lap anymore. And I think that's one of the things that also affects music. But the guy that was saying his stuff about, you know, artists hate making the music, I think that's the problem now. He's thinking money. That's what that is. And let me tell you how far off the Richter things are now, right? So even with my stuff, and like I said, I just make music because I like it. I don't really have an end goal for my specific music. You know, I just like making it. Like, it's cool. I get in my keyboard and drop a project here and there. And I see that I'm freezing. So I need this to unfreeze. Okay. Anyway, but so, you know, I shot the video for I Want, and that's been the main kind of single. But now I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to figure out what my next single is. So I've been kind of just submitting different songs to different curators, because again, I dropped 2 albums. They both have very different sounds. They're both very different, and so kind of just testing out different sounds. Anyway, so one of the songs I had, there's a song I have called Crash, which is very different, right? Like, I don't know what to classify it as, but if I could think of a song that it reminds me of, it reminds me of like a Prince America, right? So anyway, I submitted to one curator, and the curator, because when I say curator, these are the people that put you on like the playlist on the streaming platforms, right? So the curator was like, "Oh, this song is too AI for me," and I was like, "What does that mean?" We're so in a space where people don't even really know what they're listening to now, and so now all of a sudden my music is AI. I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on! I played every single key on my album, right? I sang every single note and wrote every song and melody. Like, there's no AI here. Like, even people who are the gatekeepers are not even well versed in what it is they're gatekeeping. That's interesting to me. So yeah, I was just like, okay, right, interesting. And so it's very interesting. I'll say that. But there's too many people who want to be the face of everything without the work, and I'm not a fan of it. All right, let me see here. I feel like my live is like really whatchamacallit, stuttering. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, going back to my chat. Let's see here. Hey Calvin, are you going to speak on the snow that we got in the South? I'm in Atlanta, and the child in me was really excited by the snow. You know, my mom's best friend went to visit her. Like, my mom has like this childhood friend that they've known each other since like elementary. Her friend came to visit her in Atlanta because my mom was originally from Savannah. The friend is in Savannah, and I think the friend, she was able to get out. But you know, when Atlanta gets snow, Atlanta don't know how to act, right? Everything be shut down. But I think it took her 6 hours to. Her flight was delayed 6 hours or something like that. I was like, dang, crazy. Let me see here. What up, Whitney? Thank you. That's my road dog. I'm trying to turn one thing off here. Okay. But yeah, Atlanta. My cousin Brandon sent me the pictures of his kids playing in the snow too, which is pretty cool. I always like seeing all the kids have their fun. I actually really like the snow. I just don't like driving in it. But yeah, AI, like Leandre Wheeler was saying, it has its pros and its cons. I just don't like AI in creative spaces because I don't know. I think for people who, especially like artists that are doing like painting and stuff, they have to compete with AI and all. Like I'm not a fan right now. Sorry. Yeah. What do I think about the rise of Ozempic? I just think people should be careful, very careful with certain things. Because I've seen some people who haven't had great results. Because I guess with Ozempic, you have to keep taking it. I think if you have to take it for whatever reasons you're supposed to take it for, not just because you want to look a certain way. But I also don't have that experience, so I'm not going to place judgment. But I just hope people are careful. Why is my life? I don't know if my life is freezing for y'all, but it is stuttering for me. All right. Let's see here. And the thing about AI, the thing with technology, once technology comes out, it's not like you can put it back. We all have to just adjust to it being there and live with it. That's the one thing, right? Let's see. Somebody said I felt bad because I used it for my resume. Like in those spaces, I don't see it as a problem. I think it can benefit us in certain spaces, but I think people are utilizing it in arenas that should be reserved for elements of creativity. And again, I guess people probably, even with music, probably said this with the arrival of programming versus live music. And when I say programming, that's like Pro Tools type stuff, right? I'm sure musicians who are well studied and went to to conservatories and all that are probably not fans of people who can make full albums on their keyboard, right? So all of this is a multi-layered conversation, but I just see the greed in it, and that's the part that concerns me. And I just think with like talent and creativity, you want to develop it on your own. Like letting a computer do it all, not a fan. Okay, this thing, my chat is giving me a hard time. I'm gonna have to pull it up on my phone in a second. Um, and that's crazy because it's only 500 people on here, so I don't know why it's acting weird right now. Let's see. Oh, now it wants to work. Okay. Let me try. I got everything in the meantime. Yeah, I'm gonna just pull it up on my phone because my chat's being weird. We can finally buy us a new MacBook too, by the way. I didn't want to get a new one until I finished this Mariah video because I was like, I'm not losing my work. When we did the Janet video, the MacBook died. I had to go to the Apple store because the hard drive just crashed, and I was terrified. Unfortunately, I was able to save my work because if that laptop was not salvageable, I was like, forget it. That Janet episode was just not going to come out because I was almost done with the editing. All right, let's see here what y'all are saying. Damn, hell, now I got to add on my own video. I see what y'all are talking about. Somebody said Zuckerberg will allow AI to take over Meta. Facebook is already chaos anyway. I only go on Facebook to keep up with family, but it is not my I don't be on Facebook like that. Oh, it's still going. Let's see if this works. Oh, okay. Looks like I'm still live apparently. Can you hear me now? Let's see if this works this time. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Well, looks like we're back in business, folks. Okay. I don't know what that was about. It wasn't Wi-Fi because actually this thing stays plugged in, right? I specifically make sure I keep the juice plugged in. So I don't know what that was about. But yeah, look, I was just making a post like, hey y'all, I guess we'll just redo this on Thursday. But now that it's still working, I guess we'll just jump back in here. Let me give a minute for people to we're probably going to lose half the folks that are probably like, oh, he just went back to bed. But I was in the middle of a thought here. Let me just go back to the comments and see where we were at. Let's see. Y'all were saying a mess. Look, trying to stop me from being great. This has only happened one other time. Remember, it was a live I did like 4 years ago, and live just went out of nowhere. We don't know what happened. And then I had to make a whole second one and come back. But whatever. Yeah, let's see. Deanna said, real talk, in my opinion, Obama was unbothered. Obama smokes. Look at his lips and teeth. I did. LOL, he's rich black man and did what he did, and he's out. Whatever regrets he has. Yeah, I just think Obama's already like somebody who's kind of easygoing to begin with. So, he's somebody who I just think has been raised in a way where he's been taught to always extend grace to folks. I ain't really in that same boat, but yeah, I get it. I still, Trump, you didn't said too much. You didn't talk about my wife. We ain't friends. Okay, let's see here. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm back. Yes, I'm back. Amen. Okay, so AI and creativity. So like I was saying, I think AI has helped in some things, but with creativity, you can't cut corners with creativity. Either you have it or you don't, right? And I think especially with music, right? Because music is something that really connects with people, I think when it's not organic, there's that disconnect and people don't really, cling to it. And I think that's why it's one of the reasons why I think even for pop music as far as longevity really struggles, because it's more so, and I'm talking about the business side of how pop music is marketed, right? I think because it's more so centered in profit and maximum sales and outcomes, the music never quite connects with people long term. And I think that's why when you look at the stadium tours and the arena tours of seasoned acts that are over the age of 40, even in their 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of them tend to be, rock acts, country, folk. In the arenas, you see a lot of seasoned R&B act. Think like Amazing Frankie Beverly could always sell out an arena, right? That kind of thing. With a lot of pop acts, once they hit a certain age, they really kind of fizzle out. And even though people like nostalgia, they never climb to that kind of caliber that some other artists get when it comes to the later years with how they, are able to still have demand in the industry. Now, there are exceptions. I think like Madonna is an exception, but Madonna also, to me, was not generic. There's things I was not always crazy over, but she still was very hands-on in her career. She wasn't like a puppet where everybody did everything for her, right? So I just think with creativity, when you cut corners, people can tell, right? Damn, it's getting ads too. Avocado Queen. Woo! Okay. Wow. YouTube, you're doing a lot tonight. Let me be great, please. Damn. Right? Somebody said, I can't stand in the stadium for 4 hours anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind a concert for 2-3 hours. It just needs to be good. That's yeah. Let's see. What up, Avocado Queen? I don't know why it's fine on my screen now. Look, we moving in real time. I can see myself. Yeah, we doing good over here. But yeah, I wrote a few other things down. Let's see what else was I gonna jump into here. Actually, maybe not. That was everything. Oh, somebody did ask me about the MIA girl. That's that girl that had a few songs back in like the 2009, 2010. She was going on some speech about how she's not a supporter of Black Lives Matter and whatever. Okay. I will tell you, one of the things I hate is that any conversation around anti-police brutality automatically gets dropped under the Black Lives Matter umbrella. I don't like that because the work was there before that organization became a thing. So that's one issue. But as far as her, when I tell you, I don't have energy for people who will sit here and ride our coattails, latch off our culture, profit from our culture, and then crap on us at the same time. Like, next in line. I'm sorry, I ain't like her music to begin with. Y'all can have that airplane song and Swagger Like Us. I didn't like them to begin with. So there's that. Let me see. Now my chat ain't even moving. Let's see. Can't believe how she fell off. Anti-black and anti-black. Like it's people's true colors really come out when they can't profit off of us anymore. Once the checks stop coming in and the real them comes out, that's like the tequila girl. Remember, she ended up becoming this just hateful, crazy little thing. I'm like, okay, like wow. Anyway, so I'm gonna start winding down. So I'll just entertain the chat for a little bit and then kind of call it a night. I think I'm gonna just make sure I wrote down everything. But yeah, I'm mad because there was all these wonderful comments y'all had, and so once this thing started over, I lost whatever was up there, so I didn't get to see everything. So whatever you may have written in the last 10 minutes, put it back in the chat. I might see it because I can't scroll back up. Let's see. Pisces Beauty said, my dude will keep talking. Actually, no, I did see that comment while it was frozen. I stopped. I was trying to figure out what the problem was. Man. Let's see. Now it works. Okay. Somebody also you can unsub and resub to all content just in case and for the algorithm. Is that for is that for Twitter or is that for Facebook? Somebody said I forgot all about her. People left her in 2009. The only MIA song I liked was what was it, Roadrunner or something like that? Or Bamboo Bang, something like that. I just liked it because you could choreograph some really dope numbers to it. That was the one song I liked. But I was good on MIA. Y'all can have her. Right? People will get in the door and then the first thing they do is S-word on us right away. The fact YouTube would put ads after they just yanked me off the internet. Interesting. Right? Trying to think if there's anything else I want to share. I've already started the next music related video and I'm not telling you what it is. That's the lesson. You'll just get it when you get it. So God willing, I'm not even gonna give a time frame because we said that about Mariah and y'all waited a year. But yeah. News just came that Drake retracted his lawsuit. Oh, okay. So Silent Artist, what up? Said basically what I said was the music making process can be hard, but the end result is always so rewarding. But the business can ruin the drive sometimes. Yeah, the business is a headache. Like you were saying, like creating it is the fun part. These two projects I did, I have enough material that I probably could have dropped 4 albums if I wanted to, but I was like, okay, it's overkill. But it's because I just enjoy like creating. My absolute favorite part is actually making specifically the music, like that part, even before putting down any vocals. Then my second favorite part is doing the backgrounds, right? And then finally I go ahead and do the leads. But yeah, like the creation is fun. It's really cool to have something in your head and you put it into fruition and make it a real thing. It's really, really cool, right? And now my neighbors probably hated me. They probably hate my music making process, especially making Before Tomorrow. You have to hear all them up tempos at night. But it's like, I don't know. If you don't love it, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's how I feel. Like, especially for music. Like the business, yes, I understand not loving that part. That part is nonsense. Most people that leave music, they leave because the business was nonsense, right? But the actual process of creating and like, I just think that's something people just naturally love, right? There's people who love singing, like they love playing whatever instrument. It just pulls something out of them, right? The interesting thing was like when the pandemic first hit, everybody was going to get therapy, right? And I was like, oh, let me go get some therapy too. But all the therapists were booked, and I was like, well, I guess I'll make some music. That's how we started creating music again, because I wasn't planning on really making another album after the hardcover, but hey, I ended up dropping 2 more. Let's see. Calvin, can I work with you to design your cover? I'm majoring in graphic design and so art, and I volunteered to back vocals. Well, I don't think I'm having any new albums coming anytime soon, but yeah, we'll talk offline. There's other things, I can always make a new single cover. I don't know what my next single is if I do another one. I've kind of gotten pulled into some additional projects outside of music. Like I'm in another film project right now, and which I'm gonna try to make sure I don't neglect my albums. But my plate's a little full, so jumping into some really cool things again. I'm it's a cool project, and I like that with this project I'm not executive producing it, so it's a little less stressful. Actually, it's a lot less stressful, and there's nothing. I enjoy doing Pullover So I Can Hit You, but again, when you're the executive producer, a lot falls on your shoulders. So this new project is kind of cool because nothing is really falling on my shoulders. I get to just give a lot of consulting and input, which is really cool. I'll share more details when we're allowed to, but for now, you just have to wait and see. Let's see. Have them design for your podcast episodes. Yeah, that could be a thing. Okay, look at y'all being all creative. Hey, baby. All right. Okay, I think we're about to wind down. Also, like, what else should I be watching? Like, because I haven't been watching TV like that. Mine is Squid Game. Is there anything that I am missing that I should be checking out? Now, I finally have like freedom. I don't know how to act. Like, man, because like I said, I spent the Mariah video to finally get it finished. I think I started the last elements of filming the day after Christmas, and then I was editing until the night that it dropped, right? Let's see, y'all said award season delayed, which I think they should do, especially all that's in LA, right? There's a lot of people in the industry who have lost their homes and stuff. And I'm not just talking the artists. I'm talking people who are management, musicians, background singers, dancers, choreographers, producers. There's so many people who are affected by what's happening. It's fine to pause all that. Those awards shows will still be there. Just pause all that. Take care of business first. It makes me think back to when Whitney died and they still had that party upstairs they still had the party downstairs with the body upstairs. Like, come on. Do I like animation? It's okay. It depends on what it is. I still haven't seen The Lion King, the second one. I still need to go see that at some point. Somebody said no time to evacuate for some. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Watch The Resident. Somebody said Teacup on Peacock. I did watch Carry On. That was an interesting one. That was okay. Wicked. I haven't seen Wicked. I might see it. It got annoying on social media before I could even get to the movie, but I've heard it was very, very, very good. Let's see. Like I said, I recommend Miss Pat Settles It for unwind time. Because really, my unwind time, I think I told you, my show is, okay, this sounds so boring. My show is Aerial America. It's just this show where there's like a drone that flies over states and looks at mountains and houses, and the narrator's like, oh, and this is where President Taft had his first cup of coffee, and I just be in there glued in, like watching. That is my show. And Wheel of Fortune. I'd be cussing out everybody on that show. And what else do I like watching? Yeah, I don't have really of the new shows. There's not anything I'm really like married to. Abbott Elementary is cool when it's actually on. There's not a whole lot I've really been watching. I've also been reading like a few books too, so that's kind of been taking up some time. Those are really good for those who are into music. I know most of the books I read are music related as of late. I've read the Ain't Too Proud to Beg by Mark Rabowski. That's the Temptations book. That was a really good read. I'm currently reading Hip Hop is History by Questlove. It's all right. Let me see. And then what else did I have? There's another one. Where is it at? I don't think I lost it somewhere in here. I need Nelson George to drop another music book because he always has really good ones. There's one by Tom, I guess it's Briahan, the number ones, and that's just talking about different number one songs and their impact in music. So there's kind of that. Somebody said, you're such a little grandpa. LOL, me too. I love documentaries and stuff like that. Yeah, listen, yeah, that's my thing. I do like all the crime shows too. It used to be Forensic Files, but then if you start dreaming about somebody trying to cut your head off, you'd be like, let me cut back on some of that. Yeah, somebody said The Floor is good. The Luther film was great. Yeah, I'm glad it's finally out. Have I read True You by Janet? Yeah, I would like her to actually do an autobiography though. That book was cool for what it was. I would like an autobiography, and a real one, because even the documentary was cool, but I still think there was a lot to be said. I think the documentary spent a little too much time on her relationships, and I think most of us don't care. give me more about the music and all the other stuff. I want the stories. Like, give us the story about how the puppy scratched her eye and she couldn't see out of one eye and still had to go on stage and perform in France. Like, put that in the book. Like, we want that kind of stuff. Oh, Brandy is releasing a memoir. I saw that too. That'd be a good read. I still like her holiday album. It's a really nice album. Let's see. I did see Yacht Rock. I didn't finish it, but I saw most of it. Maybe I'll get back to it at one point. Yeah, somebody said, I agree. I didn't care about those men at all. They spent too much time on who she was with. I was like, we get it, but who cares? It was too much. Like, all right, give me some. There was so many things that could have been in there. And then it didn't help that you just kind of brushed over the Super Bowl, but whatever. Let's see. Somebody said, I've read 3 celeb memoirs by now. I've read a lot. And if I don't read memoirs, I don't mind reading like unauthorized biographies if they're done well. Any David Ritz book I'll read. He does a really good job with most of his biographies. So I'll read his stuff. I agree. Somebody said AI can't push the boundaries of creativity. There's a limitation with it, right? That's why I was annoyed when that curator he thought the song I had was AI. I'm like, you don't even get okay. I don't even know what that was supposed to mean, but whatever. Let's see. My mom had to go to the hospital the night the Janet doc aired, so that's what I associate with it now. Yeah. Okay, this is a lot, but I associate Fetty Wap's what's that song? I don't know the words. What song is that? Y'all know what I'm singing. Oh my god, it's like 2015. What song is it? It's not the Shorty Come My Way. It's this other Fetty Wap song. And it was on the radio all the time. Is it Trap Queen? Anyway, that's the song that was playing when my brother called and said my dad passed out in the house. Like, so every time I hear that song, I'm like, dang, that was the song I was listening to when my daddy died. But because we was at the club, me and my friend Whitney. God bless you, daddy. But yeah. Or is it 679? I don't know. Wonder She'll Be Mine, Walk Past When I Press Rewind. Yes, that song. That we was at some spot on U Street cutting up, right? And then my brother called and I was like, okay, night over. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I have to go back and revisit. Somebody said, "True, you." The book was very heavy, though. I was like, "Dang, me and Janet have the same emotions." Yeah, I still think it was deep. There was a part in there, and I think it confirmed things I was thinking about too. Because even though she's, praised for like her figure and her shape, I never thought like when she like slimmed down for like the Janet era that was her natural size. And the book kind of confirms that like she really had to work really, really, really hard to maintain that. And there's a picture in the book where it's like, she has the band on her arm from like being almost not malnourished, but like dehydrated. And mind you, that's like at the peak of when everybody was like, oh, she's gorgeous and body to die for type thing. So yeah, I appreciate the openness on that aspect. But that book was more so about just, or I shouldn't say just, but it was centered on her self-esteem. So I think there's some cool things that she could share. All right. Wish people would get over this disdain for AI and learn to utilize it as a tool for their benefits. Too much complaining and not enough innovating. It's not even that, but I think the problem is you're going to have people who get to monopolize a lot of it. And I think it's just going to be in places where people didn't ask for it to be at. And I think that's kind of the challenge, is that in the last, especially like the last 10 years, technology has moved so fast, right? It keeps moving faster and faster and faster. So you definitely have to keep up with things. But I think that greed and love of profit is the issue. I don't think AI as a service, because hey, ChatGPT, that thing that can make all kind of magic happen, right? But I don't know. I just think I don't see the good in it with everything. I see a lot of problems coming later down the line. There's going to be some great things. Like I said, I think especially in the medical field, it helps with treatments and stuff. But I think there's going to be issues later down the line, especially once it starts getting to the spaces where jobs and stuff start getting yanked. Like, it's gonna, I don't know. It's going to be another new norm, as we would say. Let's see. Just came back to the live. Hey, Calvin, have you heard about the Read Eve's book? I heard about Eve's book. I haven't read it yet, though. Let's see. Oh, it's called 679. Okay, so it's 679, not Trap Queen. Okay. whatever. But somebody said she was smaller during the All For You era. Well, she had something to prove. She got divorced, right? So it's kind of like, I'm gonna show you now. But I think it was easier for her to lose the weight that was kind of gained around the Nutty Professor era to prepare for the All For You era than it was to kind of lose kind of maybe what. And mind you, she's never been like, she's just a fuller woman. I think going from like Rhythm Nation era to Janet era probably was a lot more work as far as physically what she had to do and to maintain it, because the Janet era lasted for so long, and then you got to keep it. She kind of goes up and down in between eras, but and so be it. Do what you want to do. I just hope that she is happy and comfortable, right? Do you think Lee Daniels was the right choice for the Mariah's? Wait, she's having a biopic. Do you think Lee Daniels was the right choice for Mariah's biopic? I didn't know she had a movie coming out, but I know they're friends, so I guess he does an okay job with some movies. So we'll see. I don't know. Somebody said, you think her natural size is 14, 16? I think I would say, I don't know if it's maybe that. I think her natural size is kind of like what she was in like 2009. I don't know what that size is, but like whatever, when she did the AMAs with like the brown, like my friend always said it was buckskin, the brown like suit. I think that's kind of her natural size she's at now. Like how she looks right now, even though she's tiny, she looks great, but that's going to be for the residency and whatever else, and she'll go back to what's more comfortable. Let's see. She added more days to the residency. Do you think it's because she needs to pay the lawsuits? I think that's already handled. I just think there's demand. I mean, I don't plan on going only because I already saw her like 4 times in the last year and a half, but I heard people enjoyed it. That's the thing. Certain people always monopolize and benefit from it, while everyone else who's scared of it is left behind. Then 5, 10 years later, everyone wants to get on board. Well, it's not even that. But I think even with monopolizing, it's they also control the means of operation. That's the bigger issue, right? So, like, I'm trying to think of an example here that would make sense. Oh no, because if I share that I cannot put that out there. There's this cool idea I've had, and I don't want to share that yet. Dang man, I'm trying to. Okay, so even with like Meta, right? How or Facebook, how they're gonna create these fake profiles that are not real people, but they're AI and so on and so forth. Like that to me, I see that being a problem, right? Because depending on what's being put out there, what's being said, I see that definitely influencing a lot of political conversations. I see, in the same way we have people pretending to be folks, right? Like think of all the folks that pretend and make fake accounts pretend to be black so they can say anti-black viewpoints and act like it's normal. I feel like you're going to start seeing that in AI. I think, I don't know. I'm not like 100% against it. I'm just, if people didn't have such ill intentions, I could be more open for it. But it's, again, everything is profit driven. And like, I don't know. I'm good on it. It's gonna be there. Nothing you can do about it. It's already here, right? Once the stuff is here, it's here. And the thing about it too, this is stuff that's been in the makings for like the last decade and some change. It's not like it just showed up yesterday, right? And so if this is what we're getting now after 10 years of research, imagine 10 more years from now what's gonna be out there, right? Okay, what up, Emmanuel? 2 hours behind listening in Tokyo. The worst insurance companies refusing to give policies and lack of compassion. Definitely. Yeah, we talked about fan base. I referenced it a little bit earlier. Tyson Beauty said, yep, black, in quote, people already run rampant on the net spewing anti-blackness. Think about that politician that was like, what they say, I'm a strong black woman, da-da-da-da. It was this white man. It's like, okay, all right. Am I going to do another Zoom? Maybe we'll do one in February, maybe March. There's a whole lot that's changing in my life in the next few weeks, so I'm going to take care of that first, and then we'll kind of get back into the pattern of things. Especially the removing of fact checking, that too, right? I think that's kind of falling in there. Even YouTube has a question asking, was that a good or bad comment request? And you answer their research, AI learning. I did hear about Sam Moore from Sam and Dave that just passed away. That was what, last week, I think, right? Yeah, I think one of their relatives I saw the post the relative had posted. Um, hold on, I'm coming. Let's see. Did anyone see the 60-minute segment with Kenyan workers training AI and terrible images they have to sort through? I haven't seen 60 Minutes in a good minute. But listen, I think AI has its place. I just think folks should be careful, especially in the creative spaces. That's the main thing. I'm like, I don't know. And I mean, I've heard some of the songs that are made on AI. They're not bad, but I don't know. We're gonna create so much technology that we're gonna technology ourselves out of existence. Not like death, but as far as like having any sense of purpose, because everything already be done for us. Have you seen the Real Housewives of Potomac? I don't watch that. Yeah. Rochelle Farrell, I heard she was doing better. I heard. Um, Roberta Flack too. That's another one who's been sick, right? Yeah. All right, we're gonna wind down. So I'll take a few more comments and call it a night. I don't want to hold y'all all night, but this has been good. We will definitely we'll see what happens with inauguration. I might squeeze in another live before then. Yeah, can have some other stuff to start adding on here. Do you ever notice in every Jason Statham movie, he has to be some top-notch badass who never even comes close to losing a fight? Not once did he ever come across I must break you guy. Ooh, I gotta think of what's the last movie I saw of him. I gotta go back and look and see what the last film is I saw with them in it, or their last film. I mean, Roberta Flack has ALS. Oh yeah, I just had her on this morning. My little shuffle came on. It had the "You Are My Heaven" with her and Donny Hathaway. It's a good one. That's a fun one. What else does she have? Actually, she has some good ones. You know, there's "Feel Like Making Love." There's "Back Together Again." I really like her remake of "It Might Be You." It's really good. And she has a very soothing voice. I think she doesn't come into the conversation as much as she should, but she's a gem. Very talented, great musician. Um, Made it for a live. Did it just start? Look, it's about to end, but you can see the re-up. Let's see. What up, Scotty Films? Somebody said Reverend Lee. Yeah. Just once I want to see him almost lose and get his ass handed or kicked to some Mozart playing in the background, something like that. Or at least do like how you remember Jackie Chan would still win all the fights, but he would get tossed around a little bit first, and you know he would punch somebody like give me a little bit of that. Just mix it up some, right? Somebody said with the way technology moving in a bad way, I don't want time traveling anymore. Imagine Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going back in time and changing history. I just think I think the problem is it's the worst people that are behind some of the greatest advancements right now. I think that might be the issue. Like I think if people use the technology for good, we'd be all right, right? That's what gets me. Like if you have all that kind of money, you think you want to do things that make life better for people. And I get it, but that's just me. I'm also very green-eyed sometimes with certain things and hate to face the reality that the world is a terrible place. There's great people in it, but you know, unfortunately, evil does persist around here too. Calvin, how do you have the energy to get up the next day after doing a live? It's almost midnight for you. I don't know, because I normally don't like doing lives on Tuesdays or Monday nights, because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the 2 days I got to get up early and actually go on site. I figured out somehow. Look, I get up cussing, and then I always have music on when I get ready in the morning, though. So it's a party every morning. It's a party / benefit concert every morning, and that's kind of what wakes me up. Because I haven't been watching as much TV. So I used to turn the news on and stuff in the morning, but I haven't really done that in like a year and a half. So I always turn the music on, and so it's a party, and I got all these different playlists that I be playing. So it depends on what the mood is. So that gives me a little energy. And then, by the time you commute and get to the office, you're wide awake by then. And I don't have to get up that early anyway. I only got to get up at like 7:20. So it's not really super early, right? Let's see. Somebody said we can't control whether or not anybody does anything good or bad with technology. The world doesn't work like that, and which is true. But my thing is, create what you create, but leave us alone. Don't bother me. That's where I'm at with it. And so even this idea of like Elon and Vivek becoming Orange Man's number 2 and number 3 person, and the first thing they want to do is create Doge, and there may be a possibility that tens of thousands of people are about to lose their jobs, not because they've done anything wrong, but because 2 ego-driven men think they know what's good for the country and they have no background in politics. Like that kind of stuff is more so my issue. And so we have people like that are in charge of new advancements, and then they utilize whatever they create as a punitive measure against people. That's the issue I have, right? Because technology can also be a great thing, right? Like Henry Salk comes up with a cure for polio and gives it away for free because he was like, we have a problem. Children are dying. People are becoming paralyzed and everything else. And I don't feel like chasing everybody down and trying to create a pharmaceutical company. I just want the world to go back to a space when everybody was able to live and not worry about polio. So here is the remedy for free. Now, I'm not saying give stuff away for free, but he had a different intention, right? It wasn't about, because he could have gone a totally different way and be like, ooh, I could gatekeep this and, make all the world leaders pay me because polio was everywhere. He could have made a pretty penny, right? And instead he gave it away for free. Like that's in an ideal world. It's not reality. We know it. But the challenge is, instead of that, we get the polar opposite in the extremity of it. And then because people also love and worship the idea of wealth, right? People will allow certain things to happen, right? Like everybody loved Elon until he said the Mace B1 visas kicked in, and then all them folks started getting mad because they realized the jobs are on the line. So yeah, stuff shifts. Let's see. Can you talk about Republican politicians back in tradition and wanting flags at full staff? That's all semantics and nonsense anyway. Like they're at half staff because it's in honor of Carter, who's just transitioned on, and Trump doesn't like the idea of the flags being half staff because it makes it look like the country's mourning that he's going back into power. And now I think, what is it? I think Alabama is going to be at full. To me, I don't even care about the flags, honestly. Like, I don't care. But politics, political theater. Calvin, what's your favorite Tony album? The Heat is my fave. My top 3, and they rotate. The Debut is still my favorite, and then it's between Libra, and then my 3rd is between Secrets and The Heat. Let's see here. What else did y'all say? It's 4:44 in London. What up, London? Glad I caught the live. Very interesting. Is it raining over there? I just want to know. Y'all got like weather like Seattle. It's like overcast skies every day, every time I look. Let's see. I went back and watched the Loverboy remix video on YouTube and never noticed until today that the brat rapped in the same melody as the Firecracker sample. Yeah, dude. I forgot the words. Dun, 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 dun. I forgot. I don't remember the words, but yeah. Let's see. The creative insulin did the same thing, and now pharmaceutical companies are trying to get rich off it. You got some people in office that want to undo the $35 insulin. I'm like, God, y'all are just terrible people. Has Tim Scott been appointed yet? No, I'm sure he's enjoying his marriage. Let's see. Oh, no rain today, but it's cold. All right. Somebody said I tried watching base politics, but found that lame host unserious and goofy. I do think we need some new faces in media to cover politics, and I would like for us to get some media that's not bought out, right? Like the major networks, it's like, ugh. So it'll be nice to get some new faces in there, some new ways of thinking, some new energy. But yeah. Have I met Reese Colbert? Actually, she just followed me on Blueski earlier today. I followed her too. I haven't met her, but one of my friends, we did go to like a live taping. You know, her and Clay have the podcast. We went to a taping in Philly. I think that was last year. It was pretty cool. That was fun. Did I watch Michael Still interview the other day? Nah, I haven't been watching the news, y'all. Like, I haven't watched the news. I'll watch the local news to see what's happening in the area. But as far as like all the big news networks, I haven't really been watching it for a while. Like, I'll read up in the different publications, but yeah, it's for my own peace of mind for now. All right, I think we're gonna call it a night. Let's see. Get your last questions in before I call it a night, folks. They said I went to London last year and it rained every day. Yeah, they get a little bit of rain over there. I think. What was I going to say about London? I plan on actually going that way, hopefully before the end of the year at some point. Oddly enough, musically, my outside of the U.S., my largest audiences are the UK and the Philippines. So like, there's also I have a few friends in the UK that I've been meaning to like catch up with at some point. So I do plan to go there one of these days. You heard about Justin? Oh, resigning in Canada. Yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm. Lorraine Smith. What was the lawsuit involving Janet? Oh, it was like contract type stuff. She was supposed to provide an album for this label. The label had paid for her Made for Now video in 2018. And then, she was supposed to do the album and the tour. Pandemic happened. Album got shelved. Tour got canceled. A few other things went down the line. I think that is all settled and handled at this point. And that was the main reason why she hasn't released any music. So I don't know what's going on now. She's, touring in residencies and stuff. But yeah. How can I find out when you come on so I don't miss your shows? Unfortunately, I don't really like schedule them. I just have an epiphany, like, oh, I'm gonna go live tomorrow. So normally I'll just make a YouTube announcement on the community tab. So normally I'll make an announcement either the day before, sometimes the day of, sometimes 2 days before. I think what I may try to start doing is as soon as I announce the video, I'll just go ahead and put in all the credentials in YouTube so the video is there, even though we're not live yet. And it gives people more of a warning. But a lot of times I don't pick my topics until the night that I'm going to actually do the live. So that's kind of what that's centered in. Somebody said, wait, that was the State of the World Tour. Well, no, State of the World Tour was already done with, as far as what I'm talking about with like them paying for Made for Now and all that other stuff. State of the World was 2017 and top of 2018. And then the second half of 2018 was the whole Made for Now, because that was like by the summer, and then she went to Vegas by 2019. Yes, Randy is in all of that. I don't even want to revisit that conversation today. I don't have the bandwidth. Anyway, this has been cool. Do I have any other announcements? So like I said, I'll schedule another Zoom party sometime February, March, right? In the meantime, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I get your podcast episode out on the 28th. Book club is on the 27th. And as I normally do with the podcast, I'll upload an episode on the YouTube channel, but it's not the new one. The new episode will be on all the streaming platforms. So you can just go to any streaming platform, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, all those different things, and it'll be there. Yeah, Sarah, Randy is definitely a Trumper and has no qualms about it. That's his thing. Is you ain't right about Tina? That was the rumor. That definitely was the rumor. I think they've kind of worked out their issues, though. How can I sign for the book club? You don't even have to sign up. There will be a link that, well, if you go to my website, the link is always there when you go to the tab that says book club and reading materials. So it's always there. But also, maybe a day or two before the book club, I'll post the Zoom link on the community tab. And then all you got to do is just click and join. So there's nothing you got to sign up for, nothing. Just show up. And we'll, like I said, reading page 53 to 141 of the Rick James book. It's called Glow, Autobiography of Rick James. And just so there's no confusion either, sometimes with the book selection, sometimes we do end up covering somebody that may have been provocative or somebody that may have gotten in a whirlwind of trouble. But it's more so we're just looking at the big picture of their entire experience. We're looking at, you know, different things they may have contributed to music, but we're also looking at poor choices that they have made and how it served as a consequence in their experience. So it's kind of a full circle moment, right? So I don't want anybody to think that we're like endorsing certain behaviors or anything, but it's more so just, again, y'all know I love the conversation of context and origin. So, you know, I like to really dissect and jump into different layers and conversations with different things. So there's that. Wait, what happened? What are we seeing here? It's only banned in America. Oh, okay, that's TikTok. I said yes. Let's see. I'm gonna definitely check out this Octavia Butler book that y'all keep putting on there. I'll definitely check. Will we get a series on 20YO and discipline like you did to me to Joe? I don't know. We'll see. I do want to cover some other artists first. I don't think they would be as interesting as the Mita Joe one, because there was a whole lot that happened around the Mita Joe. 20YO and discipline were actually relatively quiet eras. There wasn't a whole lot of controversy. It was more so just, you know, other than her falling out with LA Reid, there wasn't a lot that really happened. It was just she was still banned from MTV with 20YO. Radio wasn't really receptive. There was going to be a tour that was canceled before it was announced, and then Discipline, there was a Rock With You tour that made it, but then still ended up canceling dates. And I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll do something different. I have other video ideas too, outside of just So It Happened. But yeah. All right, I will add the Octavia Butler book in the 12 selections for when you guys vote. All right. This has been cool, folks, but I'm gonna go to bed. And I don't apologize. It was the technology, it wasn't me. I don't know what was going on with the live earlier, but we'll figure that out. I will see you guys when I see you. Like I said, hey, spread that Mariah video around. I worked hard on it, so give it some legs. Cause man, like don't have me spend 50 days working on the video and it stops at like 20,000 views. But anyway. Guys, stay safe, stay sane, mind your business so that you can age well, and I will see you next time. Good night, folks.